Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions DrFunctional.
Yes.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
And SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
We may have a Sora Luna show up later. Who knows? I'm not the boss of anybody. Sometimes I have to remember that really we are just a group of volunteers who enjoy doing what we're doing. There's nobody punches a clock. Yeah, you don't have to be here. Hi, Functional. Oh, I said he doesn't have to be here, and then he suddenly disappeared.
Oh, well.
Is he trying to be funny, or did he Canadian internet himself?
Well, we'll know if he tries to come back.
Okay. Were you trying to make a point, or was that an accident?
Uh-oh.
Oh, he might be having Canadian internet stuff. We will...
What? My internet's better than all of yours. Fuck off.
It's better than mine.
I think Harry's the only one who can't be better than.
All right. SkepTok,
Yes, my king.
what would you like to share with the class before we begin?
Oh, nothing too much other than Mrs. Skep is continuing to convalesce from her surgery, and her medical situation has really stabilized. So
Yay.
my mood is much improved.
Well, she's tough. I mean, she's
She
demonstrated that.
Yeah, she is. She hung in there. I'm so proud of her.
Good.
Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, at least you don't have to worry about tomatoes. I've still got cherry tomatoes that think it's time to keep growing.
Oh yeah. I actually cut mine down with lots of cherry tomatoes still on the vine and just bagged them up and sent them to the mulch pile.
Yeah. Well, I've sort of joked about the bring out your dead section, because we just keep having these people passing away.
Right.
Man, I have this bad feeling that we're going to lose at least in the next year Tom Lehrer or William Shatner or Clint Eastwood. And any one of those is going to really annoy me.
Yeah.
It's going to annoy, but to be fair, they're in their 90s.
It is. And honestly, 90s really should be kind of the target. It's like if you can make it into your 90s with your thoughts still there and your ability to kind of more or less move around, you win. That's what winning looks like now.
My mom was 90 and 2 months when she passed. Dad's 97, and he's still going strong.
Yeah.
So, I think you can actually aim for 100. That's my next. That's when I'm going to check and see if I'm still having a good time.
Well, Betty White almost made it in terms of, because I had this conversation with a friend of mine a few days ago. What does winning look like? And the whole thing was, it's like, get into your 90s and all your stuff still works.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can't all be Olivia de Havilland. I mean, she was busy riding bicycles when she was 101.
Right.
Sharp's attack. I mean, just owning life. I mean, she did really well. We can only aspire to age as well as Olivia de Havilland did.
Damn right.
Yeah. But who knows? I mean, it actually would be a problem if they suddenly came up with a magic pill that we took, and then everybody started living to be 120. A lot of people would have to go back to work.
I know, that's the problem. I don't think that's what people realize.
Yeah, the new retirement age is now 90. Oh God, can you imagine?
Actually, I'm not sure that's true. I've seen a couple of game outs, pretty sophisticated stuff that indicate that the wealth creation is so geometric that you can actually sustain a very large society with that imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope we can find out.
Yeah.
It's all just navel gazing until we put it to the test.
Yeah, it's all pointless speculation, but it's fun to talk about.
Hi, DrFunctional.
Hello.
Anything new and exciting?
The terrorists are attacking Canada.
Wait, what?
The terrorists are attacking Canada.
Could you elaborate on that in a way that doesn't get us canceled?
Sure. The terrorists are burning parts of Montreal and attacking buildings and attacking students on campus, and
They're burning some of the buildings down also.
Well, is
yeah,
this basically...
there's some sort of karmic balance going on here, because one of she's now internet famous. I almost said a couple naughty words. Let's say Towel Heads, who owns, get this, is part owner of a Second Cup, which is basically the Canadian version started by Jews of what's that shitty coffee place called? Starbucks. And it's in, I forget the name of the hospital, but it's basically like Jewish General Hospital, Jewish Mount Sinai, not Mount Sinai. It's a big Jewish hospital. Had a coffee shop in there. Was caught like hiling random passersby on the street, and anybody who looked Jewish or who was on the like anti-violence side was saying that the second Holocaust or something is whatever, something stupid like that. And immediately the internet went to work like they do, found this woman, found her details, sent it to Second Cup, and within hours her franchise agreement was revoked, and now they have to pack up shop and leave the hospital.
Cool.
So it's fun stuff like that. But the police chief of Montreal happens to be a terrorist himself, and isn't doing anything about people who are. But if
not
you
a literal terrorist, not a literal terrorist.
No, literal terrorists. These are literal terrorists, Harry.
Okay,
they're burning down buildings.
But the police chief of the chief of police of Toronto.
If you are complicit,
Montreal, not Toronto.
Montreal, sorry.
Montreal. If
The
you
rude
are
part.
complicit and allow such actions to go, you are a terrorist.
Well, you're
Just
at
like
least
with
a
BLM.
sympathizer.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And it's my opinion. You can disagree with that opinion, but it's my opinion that if anybody wants to deny that this is happening, like the CBC, like every outlet in Canada is ignoring it. It's not even on the front page. People are burning down buildings, attacking people on the street. It's not in the fucking news. So first of all, the CBC can burn. But second, the police chief of Montreal is letting this happen, denying that it's a problem and all this other shit.
Are you saying that these are not legitimate acts of resistance?
Well, no, they're sheer acts of terrorism. And these people, I mean, and Justin Trudeau was off at the Taylor Swift concert molesting young girls. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic about that, I'm not.
Okay.
This is how fucking crazy the world is right now.
Yeah. Well, remember we had our own little summer of love after George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
Where a lot of government people were letting things happen. Now, to be by letter of the law, I don't think we can call the chief of police of Montreal a terrorist. He may be a completely incompetent person who's doing nothing. But I don't want to have to read a retraction like Sonny Hostin's had to read 2 of recently.
He can be a buffoon and a pawn of the terrorists, or somebody who is maybe even a simp.
Yeah.
But unless you have evidence of his collaboration, I'd be careful with that, because the penalties that you get hit with they're arbitrary, and they're just whatever some asshole at YouTube thinks is the right way to slug you in the mouth, for committing some perceived offense. So
yeah,
it pays to be a little bit conservative there.
So metaphorically speaking, you might get away with it, but literally speaking, no, unless we know he's in on the planning of it all. But this is terrible. So there's a bunch of violence and destruction going on in the Montreal area. And is it confined mostly to that area?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's demonstrations in other parts, like in my city, but I mean, the violence is pretty much there. But that's because, and this is my assertion, my assumption, my educated guess,
Okay.
my hypothesis, that the reason why people who live there aren't standing up for the rule of law, peace, and civil society is because there aren't any there are so few Canadians around there. They're not really afraid of the police response to themselves. They just, the majority of the people in that area just don't care because they're not Canadian. They're not from Canada. They have no relationship or tie to the land or this country. And so they look out their window and they go, oh, look, Habib, they're at it again. Maybe we'll go back to Iran. It is what it is. When you don't give a shit, I see the same thing happening every time I had to work like Canada Day weekend or Victoria Day weekend, any of our long weekends, Memorial Day weekend, like whenever I had to work the restaurant, big touristy area, big celebratory area right on the lake. There was a time where when the celebration ended, people would stop, take their trash and put it in the bin. And, there'd be some, specks, a wrapper here, a coffee cup there. Wasn't that bad. The last 3-4 years, I want to say, where I was working in that area, it was a sea, an almost literal sea of trash. And I felt like the Indian commercial guy who just like single tear rolled down my cheek, and I walked back into the restaurant and go, well, I'm going to go clean up my mess and go home. And there was a certain, I'm trying to be delicate because I don't want to be labeled a racist, even though certain people are just inferior, not based on the race, just because they're just disgusting human beings, like on an individual level.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the hue of the look of the crowd has changed over the years as well. Import the third world, get the third world, and I'm getting sick of it. Like this is how you radicalize people like me. And I hope Justin Trudeau gets thrown in jail.
Well, there you have it. So CBC is going to have to cover this at some point, because when cities start burning, you can only get away with the mostly fiery but mostly friendly, mostly peaceful
fiery
thing.
but mostly peaceful.
Yeah.
The last article they have on it so far that I've seen is 8 hours ago, and it's about 3 getting arrested.
Oh, they have stories, but it on the Toronto Star, the Montreal Gazette, not Montreal Gazette, the Montreal Star. I don't know. There were like 4 of the newspapers, and then the CBC itself. None of it was on the front page. Excuse me. When there is serious violence going on, people are being attacked, buildings are being burnt down. That is front page news, and it is not a mistake. It's a conscious decision to obfuscate what's going on. Instead, you had like stories about daycare and cyclists and Justin Trudeau being at the Taylor Swift concert. It's like that's not even remotely close to fucking news.
No.
Again, what is news is seeing all the lecherous photographs of him pawing and groping young girls.
Did he sniff any of them?
This is how you radicalize people like me.
Yeah. Well, at least he didn't bite any babies or sniff anybody. We have our own problems here in the States.
Worse than that.
I know, but I haven't seen. I haven't
Harry,
seen
you
it.
might not remember. He was under investigation 4 times for sexual assault.
Was he cleared 4 times?
No, they crushed all of the investigations. Because when you investigate yourself, because these are government agencies that he's in control of, that we're doing the investigation, just like the Chinese collusion into our elections, Chinese interference, direct interference and funding of our elections, and sending people from China to come here to go to the polls to vote for these liberal members of parliament. Proven without a shadow of a doubt, all gets crushed by the people investigating because they are the government. So when somebody like that, and no, he hasn't been proven in a court of law, even though there's evidence, there's testimony.
No, they just dropped the investigation.
They drop it, they hush it, they push it aside, and so it's a little weird to see that that's happening. While I mean, I'm not saying it's currently as bad as say you guys with your sitting president wanting to start World War III along with Keir Starmer, but I don't want to go up on that right now.
We haven't even said hello to Serenity yet.
I know. You got me going. You got me going. You're like, hey, Functional, how's it going? I'll be like, I'll tell you how it's going.
Well, I keep telling people that my job is to keep you guys talking. Apparently, I'm doing a really good job. So,
I can't eat my bacon bread.
hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Is it getting closer to winter now for you?
We got about half-inch of snow, and then it warmed up a little bit, so it melted. It got back up to 60 today, and then it's going to drop back down into the 40s for Turkey weekend. Turkey week.
Yeah. Well, Northern California got nice and wet. Had
I
a
saw
little
that.
atmospheric river, and hey, if you want to just like dump a bunch of water into Shasta and Oroville, be my guest, please. Welcome, atmospheric river. Welcome.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, especially with California. It's like I've made the joke a couple times, but it's the truth. A drought here and a drought where you all are, two different things. Drought here is like 3 months without rain, and even all of us are just like, yeah, the grass turned brown. Whoopty fucking day. Because our trees are still green. But everybody was like, and it's the thing is, here in West Virginia, we have really dry summers some years, and then we have really wet summers. So no one around here gets freaked out. So when it started raining, like it always does in late fall, early winter, we were all just like, oh, look, rain.
Yeah. Well, you know, normally I have Skep do this, but I didn't have Skep go last this time. So I'm going to try to say hello to everybody without mispronouncing everybody's name. Okay. We've got Mike R., Mashisu, or just Mash. I think usually just call Mash Shisu Mash,
She's
right?
Mash.
Just Mash. She's just Mash. Green Badger, Critical Thinkers Guild, SkepTok, whoever that is.
Yeah.
Let's see, Frosted Glass, welcome. Mash, Critical Thinkers Guild. I know I saw
is joining
somebody
us.
else
Hey,
in there.
man.
Mitch the Ripper.
Mitch is here.
Mitch is here. Elwin's here.
Captain Randall,
Yep.
Rotten Corpse.
Oh, yeah. Rotten Corpse. Yeah,
Rotten
we've got
Corpse.
a good crowd. Oh, and Captain Brambles. Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
I hope you were entertained by my,
some big brains here in chat tonight.
I was 3 parts
Keep us
entertained, 2 parts terrified, given the way things are going. Because I think we have to be really careful about making certain kinds of statements. As long as we throw an allegedly in every now and then, and just be really clear on the difference between what we know and what we think we know, I think we'll be
Well,
okay.
just think before you speak. Just think before you speak. Say, I'm about to say something potentially inflammatory.
Yeah.
Is this something that is generally backed up and generally accepted, or do I need an allegedly or possibly or a softener of some kind?
Yeah.
You
So
know.
I've enjoyed Sonny Hostin having to give not 1 but 2 statements, but we don't need to get into that right now. I need to go back to Serenity.
Yeah.
You know,
Anyway.
we talked about the whole animal sanctuary thing and Peanut the squirrel, and that's been coming up a lot. So I actually, this isn't new. This is a story from 2020, but I did not realize that Tippi Hedren, the woman who was in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, she was the star of that. She's also the
Great
mom
lady.
of Melanie Griffith and the grandmother of Dakota Johnson. I didn't realize that she was a complete nut when it came to lions and big cats.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that she had like this animal sanctuary around her house. And let me just switch over so people can see what I'm looking at here. Technical excellence achieved. Okay. So I put it in the thumbnail. There's this picture here of like a tiger coming through her kitchen window. Love that. But yeah, this is Tippi Hedren just like having lions around her house. She had a whole bunch of these big cats. What is
This
the
is in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah. It's just, just Tippi Hedren just playing with her lion, and that seems fine. That got canceled, but let's see. How many of the images can we see?
I mean, what bad thing could happen? Siegfried and Roy never had a problem.
well,
I
there
don't think she
were
ever did.
there
if I
were
remember
pictures that I found of Melanie Griffith in bed with a ginormous lion on
Yeah.
the bed with a cover over the lion.
right. They did that for Time, I think.
Yeah, Time did a
remember Melanie
whole
Griffith
expose
talking about-
on them. Amazing. Just Um,
As far as I know, she was never attacked. No one was, as far as I know. At least at that one.
well, there were some issues with some of the movies that she was making. I mean, there were a few little dust-ups.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't all just sweetness and light.
Yeah, but considering the fact that they pretty much it's Sherman Oaks. People who never Googled it. I've never been to California, but I like to wander the real to state listings. Just look at Sherman Oaks, like, and how close some of those animals would have been to people if they just hopped a fence.
Yeah.
It's just like tick tick, and then be done, and then everybody be dead. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
like,
I
some of
mean-
the pictures are cool.
So I wonder what it was, because I get the impression that if you've got the right amount of juice, you can get an animal sanctuary license if you
Well, to
live in
be
the right
fair-
place.
Well, also to be fair, it was the 70s.
Yeah, you know.
So many people were high. I doubt anybody. What, man? I don't know. I know here to just be a halfway house for some of the more exotic things, I have to be up to be investigated twice a year minimum, and they technically can knock on my door at any point
Cool.
to check out the property to make sure that it is, especially if there are animals that are not of local fauna here. And
Like exotics or
yeah, like when
snakes
I had the
and stuff?
camels and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not native to this part of the world.
No.
Yeah. So they would come and check, and I didn't care because it's like, I mean, don't piss off the frickin' land guardian dogs I have, and don't piss the donkeys off, and you can do what you want because I have my paperwork in order. I have a
That's good.
folder by the front door where I just grab it and hand it to them. It's like, here, get away.
Well, that's the right place to keep that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, also, West Virginia is very, very different because we've never had the same exotic animal laws that a lot of other states have. We're very, very loose here with exotic animal laws. It's very much a county district thing. Mine, because of the locale close to certain governmental training facilities that are not far, not by the way the crow flies, they get very paranoid for certain reasons. So they will do that because they sometimes think that, because especially with the larger animals, that leaves plenty of room to sneak people in. So I very often, if a larger animal, which I haven't had to deal with larger animals in almost a year, they will have certain representatives from the state government there when the animal gets dropped off to check the bins. Because apparently, I can't remember if one of the officers said it was Pennsylvania or Virginia. They had people trying to sneak into close to where one of the training facilities was by getting in an animal container. Apparently, they got into the wrong animal container because the animal that they were in there with tried to kill them. But
Oopsie.
so
Only
it's
tried?
he started screaming. So because at least around here you have to have cameras on the animals at all times.
Right.
But usually in what's called the gooseneck trailers, they don't have cameras because there's no point putting things, because it's usually supposed to be storage, air quotes.
right.
But it's really close to the cab. So even though there's a disconnect, you can still hear them. So apparently the driver pulled over and was packing because he's not stupid, and they arrested. But that was about 10 or 15 years ago, I think they said. But yeah, we have very different laws here, and they're very relaxed compared to a lot of places. But even then, we do get a certain level of oversight. From everything I've looked up and been told, New York's a lot more strict. Like literally, and this is not, and people can defend the peanut and what was the raccoon's name? I can't remember. There was the
Shemp.
raccoon who also, Shemp got hurt.
I forget.
Too.
I should
was,
know, but
was
I
put
don't.
down too, not hurt. But apparently, from what I've been told by a few people I know who run animal sanctuaries up there, it's like if it is categorized as a wild animal, you have, I think, 72 hours to hand it over to like local ASPCA or local certified wildlife rehabilitators. If you don't, it can be cause for investigation. Should they have gone as extreme as they did? No, but he also shouldn't have had a squirrel when he wasn't licensed for it.
Yeah, just let him in the
His
house.
name was Fred, by the way.
Fred.
Oh, Fred. There we go. I do not wish to disrespect the squirrel
Don't-
or the raccoon because they did not make the choice to be raised by a person who then used them in their Instagram to get attention.
See, sometimes lions, sometimes headrest.
It's insane. It's still cool though. It's like
It is cool. Look, I'm trying to work here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
if
can
you
see
were
functionals. Cats
Functional,
doing
when
that.
your cats
Booty.
walk on your keyboard, is it like this?
I mean, if you weren't she's looking at me now, judgingly.
Yeah.
If she wasn't the size of that lion's paw, and was the size of that lion, I would be concerned because I would never be able to eat anything.
Yeah, she knows you're looking at pictures of other cats. She just knows it.
Hey, camel. Yes, I had Bactrian, which is the double humped camels here for a little bit.
Here's the
I'd much-
housekeeper stepping over the lion that's sleeping on the kitchen floor.
I'd much rather have a lynx.
Lynxes are cool. They get very, very territorial, but they're actually pretty chill with house cats. It's really funny to watch.
Mhm.
American badgers
Lynx
are
are better
assholes.
with other cats than they are with people, though. That you got to be
Yeah.
careful with lynx.
Yeah, no, we have
They're
very
very
specific
good with
pens.
other cats. That's
Yeah, we have
true.
very
That's their
specific pens
reputation.
for the ones that can actively kill with tooth or claw. There they go. Thankfully,
Yeah,
we have not
yeah,
had
yeah.
to use them in a very long time. But I
But
think
we've seen the people who have, accidentally or however, like come across excuse me, come across baby lynxes in the wild, and then they stupidly take them in, and then thinking that they're just normal kittens because they don't look very different when they're kittens.
no, they don't.
And then they basically they're not fully what's the word I'm looking for? When
Sorry, you
when
say fully, and my word completion goes to functional now. Thank you for that. Thanks,
Fully.
Thanks, TNG.
When they're fully grown.
no, when you raise something, you like house break it. You
Yeah, I know what you're
the
talking about. I can't think of the word either.
Freaking word. Domesticate. You
Domesticate.
can't fully domesticate a lynx, but some of them do get more domesticated, and when they're around other felines, they learn from that behavior, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, these are our masters who give us food and
Yeah.
attention, and
Keep them fed and unstressed.
Oh,
is
no,
the
we-
answer.
We had a
exactly, Skep. But of the larger cat families, the wild cat families, they are one of the ones who are more, on average, agreeable to domestication, but they cannot be fully
Yeah.
domesticated.
no, they can't.
Whereas with things
No.
like lions and jaguars and tigers, and yes, people have done some things like you can see with these lions here, but it's so the slightest thing can set one of these guys off,
Oh yeah.
and everybody's dead.
Oh, yeah.
It just there's no
Well,
stopping.
you got to be
lion.
careful with them, and they're just not domesticatable. When I was a kid growing up, we had saber-toothed tigers. We used them to herd had a couple of head of triceratops, and they're hard to get moving, but they get motivated with the saber tooth.
Well,
But it's the same thing. You wanted to keep them fed.
Yeah.
Well,
there's also-
I have two more cat-related things. We're
All
30
right.
minutes in, so if you don't mind, I'm going to move on
no.
to... Here's another thing I stumbled across. Scap.
Give us more pussy.
Yes.
There you go.
Ship's cat. So I guess this was
Yes.
mostly a thing that they did on English
Houses.
ships,
Yeah,
Were
just
they-
to catch the rats.
where they...
Yeah.
Well, but no, they would have this pampered little puss be basically like a pet or a mascot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to having a bunch of cats running around the ships, actually killing rats and stuff.
No.
Well, it's kind of like the barn cats. Like we have the matriarch barn cat here. We have the tomcat and the matriarch barn cat where I live, who basically run whatever the fuck the group is called.
Mm-hmm.
Who, at this point, they just eat kibble because they're like, no, I don't eat rat.
Well, here's Winston Churchill.
and Blackie.
Yep.
Oh wait,
Yeah,
this is
but-
the USS McDougal, so that's an
but-
American ship.
Yeah,
Okay.
But
American-
the tradition changed a bit because of the advancements
Orca
in things like
destroyer,
antibiotics
stuff.
and
Yeah.
understanding of these things like plague, so that the Mausers became mascots.
So they did better.
And fast forward like 40 years, they found out that it actually helped the sailors with their mental health.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
being more calm
Jubilee.
during the downtime. It's funny you bring this up because I just read something. Oh, I'm gonna find it if I can.
What's like the prisoners? They found that prisoners, even the violent ones, but do better with cats and dogs to take care of.
Right, and
It
that's a
makes them
privilege.
calmer.
That's a privilege,
Yes,
which
it's a
helps with
privilege.
discipline.
Yes, it's a privilege they earn, but it's still, they found that even some people who've done some of the darkest things, it can help, and keeping the population calm helps everyone. They found even doing that helps a lot, which I always thought.
Well, anyway, I thought this was cool. I didn't know this was I figured unofficially they might have these sorts of things, and the captain might turn a blind eye to it. But no, this was like they had like these official mascots. But while we're talking about cats, let's see. Speaking of cats, this I think is really cool. Some crazy European person has put a model railway, like a really cool model railway, in their backyard. Because, men like to have hobbies. Sometimes we just want to go out in the yard and lay some track, I guess. But it ends up going like this.
Oh, yeah, I've seen these videos. These are funny.
Oh yeah.
Just tap
Who
it.
the hell do you think you are? No,
Keep going.
no,
Keep
my
going.
bridge.
Back it up.
And he goes up
There
on
we
top.
go.
And then he's like, hey. I find this whole thing to be really cool. He has like a whole bunch of videos of him and that cat. Well, let's just kill the audio. But
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we have these tiny little cameras now, because we didn't have those 20, 30 years ago, at least not practically speaking, means that you can have this whole railway thing and get different perspectives on it. So this is MAPIC2 is the channel name.
Oh, it's like in Japan, they have basically the tourist traps, but they have the tourist trap train stations that are the manager, air quotes, of the train station is a cat, and it kind of becomes a mascot, but it's still a tourist trap. But
I mean, this is as a thing to do with your backyard. If you've got the time and the energy, why the hell not?
oh yeah, no, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to keep it clean. Hard to keep it up. That's the thing.
He's got a lot of
I'm gonna
great.
turn my backyard into the fall of Cadia.
Well,
It's a
there's some
Warhammer
videos. There's some videos of him with the trains going through the snow. So he'll get like a train with a little snow plow on it, and the model train just plows
Gotta
the
put it-
snow.
Nice.
Instead of a cow catcher on the front of those
Nice.
trains, they need to be a cat catcher.
Yeah. I just think this is really cool.
Oh no, there's the tail.
The model
oh, no.
work is really good. All
Oh,
the
no.
little tiny people.
Watch the tail. Watch the tail. There we go.
They have whole compilations of just the train versus the cats or the
great.
cat. It's
That's
pretty
interesting.
sweet. Yeah, I like.
There's the funny videos where like it's like an indoor train
Mhm.
enthusiast place, and it's coming through the tunnel,
Mhm.
and there's just two cat heads staring at it, and they're like, "The hell is this? What is this?" It's funny. Like there's so many cats and model trains videos, and they're hilarious.
Yeah,
I love 'em.
I actually found myself sort of mesmerized. I was supposed to be doing real work, and I just kept watching videos from this channel. It's like I've just wasted a half hour of my life watching somebody else's model train torture a cat. It's like, what is wrong with
Hey
me?
man, he's got you and 152,000 other subscribers.
Yeah, I think this is pretty great.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Simple.
everybody
It's what
needs
YouTube was originally for.
anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, so that's all the cat-related content out of the way. We don't have to talk about cats anymore tonight. Yay.
We are me out of here.
Yeah. There've been some comments in chat, which I probably should address.
They're mostly talking about Google Chrome.
Well, they are talking about Google Chrome, and I don't pretend to understand what the thought is behind the Google Chrome thing. So if Google spins off Chrome into its own independent thing that's not part of Alphabet, what does that accomplish?
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn
It
thing.
changes employees into contractors, Harry. That's what it does.
I think that insofar as the browser is integrated with an operating system, right? It gives you an advantage in terms of funneling traffic to your site, and then you sell the information from your users to make money. That's what Google's in the business of. They're in the business of selling information about you and information to you.
And that's big business.
But if I use a non-Chrome browser and I still use Google services, like I use Opera or whatever, they're still getting the same information and selling it.
Yeah.
I don't really see what gets accomplished by pulling off the browser. It's as if they said, well, we have to do something. What part can we peel off of Google/Alphabet that won't actually cause any harm?
Yeah, that will have the appearance of doing something.
Yeah.
So, the Department of Justice has asked a federal judge to force Google to sell off its popular web browser Chrome. It comes after an antitrust case found Google had illegally maintained a monopoly in search. The outcome could have major impact on the company and on the way so many of us interact with the internet.
Oh, I think Google is probably going, okay.
Yeah,
We're kind of good with that.
Yeah. Well, the monopoly on search thing is interesting.
Yeah.
Originally, there were a bunch of sort of search engines, and what they did was they had lots of advertising and crap surrounding them. And what Google did was they showed up with something that was extremely sparse and didn't have a lot of stuff that got in your way. You type a query in, and then
you got your answer.
You got your answers back. And they were able to do it with less infrastructure because of this thing called the MapReduce algorithm. Everybody has that now, right? They have something like that. But Google has their fingers and tendrils into so many different things that they're almost like too big to fail in a way. They're almost too big to remove. You can't really just get rid of Google, and breaking up the different companies wouldn't change their search supremacy.
Yeah.
If anything, the fact that technology is getting better and cheaper means that the bar to entry for a competitor gets lower and lower every day. So in order for them to keep their near monopoly on search, it really reins them in. The more egregious things they have to do, they really can't do. Or at least people can't figure out that they're doing them.
Well, I mean, and Joel McLaughlin in chat said the core of Chrome is Chromium, which is open source. Very little of Chrome is closed. The DOJ is stupid.
No, it's just a framework for a web browser. It doesn't amount to anything. Spinning off Chrome is meaningless.
It's just an API.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's a framework. It's a framework.
Well, okay, but to me, it's an API. But yeah, okay, it's a framework.
Yeah, it's a framework, and a lot of the other browsers that people use are actually using the Chromium framework.
They're all Chrome forks.
So Brave does, Vivaldi does, a bunch of them do.
Chrome fork.
Does Opera do it? Opera GX?
Opera uses its own stuff. It is not Chrome derived.
Okay. That's like the only one, and like Mozilla uses its own stuff, right?
No, there are several others that don't.
Well, there's WebKit. No, there's WebKit. There's Mozilla is its own independent.
Yeah,
it's Firefox basically.
Yeah.
There's anything based on WebKit. There's obviously the Apple stuff has its own interfaces, and there's a bunch of really lightweight browsers that do all sorts of things that are open source. There's not a lot of barrier to competition getting into the browser market.
You can write your own browser in Visual Basic in about, I think I could do it in about 30 seconds, and that's including compile time into an exe.
Yeah, write it in machine language. That would be cool.
No, just write it in Visual Basic. Just use the browser object, set it on, compile it.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick little detour. And then we're gonna come back to the four companies that basically are floating most of California's corporate tax base. Basic co-creator Thomas Kurtz hits end at 96. Speaking of winning,
yeah, I saw Thomas Kurtz died.
Yeah, so. But in a way, not to get morose about this, this gives you an idea of just how old modern computers are.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had these things in our lives for a while now. The number of people that
wasn't he at Dartmouth when he created Basic?
I want to say yes. Oh, the Dartmouth time-sharing system. Yeah. But Basic was great because it was one of those things that was easy to learn, and and a lot of people before that, they didn't realize they were using Fortran on punch cards.
That's what I used. That's
Yeah.
when I took my Fortran 4 course in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
That we didn't have string handlers, Harry.
I know. I'm
It was
fully aware.
formula translation.
Yeah, and as a student, you would write your programs and then translate them onto the punch cards and submit them
That's what
that way.
You would actually use the punch card machine. I punched my own cards.
Yeah.
After punching 110, 115 cards, you'd take them to the unsmiling guy behind the window in a white lab coat. I shit you not, and he would take your cards, sneer at you, put them in one of the job bins, and then your cards would get run, and you would get an output thing. You didn't know you had output until you saw the folded up printout of your output and your cards that came back, and usually mine said no op on step 2 because I had a typo, and that was it. But
the first basic program run on May 1st, 1964 at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
where?
That's how long?
Where?
What it says as part of Dartmouth time sharing system.
So it was Dartmouth. That's
Yeah.
I remember that right. Okay.
I mean, it's a nice little piece of computer history. But we've had computers in our lives for a pretty damn long time.
Well, it was like my mom learned to work with mainframes for hospitals, like actual mainframes. And my mom's 70-something now. I'm not going to give her exact age.
Well, BASIC was a perfectly useful language. I used to use it to basically, I'd take machine language and I would use BASIC to load my machine language programs into my Trash 80 because I had 1 whole megahertz of clock speed, and I was gonna
use that. Damn it.
I was gonna flog those squirrels as best as I could to get stuff done. So,
the interesting thing is, where did it say it? I saw it. While Dartmouth College had the copyright to BASIC, they made it freely accessible to anyone interested in using it. And Kemeny, I think it was the person who also helped develop it, and Kurtz made little money from it.
Yeah, but big fame.
Well, I mean,
and
big
big
fame, but still,
gratitude.
like, it was cool that Dartmouth had the copyright, but it was like, no, go ahead and use it.
No, well,
4 tech companies just say that's not a good thing. San Francisco Gate, that's not good.
well, you
That's
know
bad.
how all these businesses are leaving California because it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
What I hadn't really thought of is that there are 4 ginormous tech companies
Is Oracle one of them? And
that generate
that
generate so much tax revenue
Oracle, Apple, who else?
probably Google.
that
Alphabet,
NVIDIA,
sorry.
Apple, Google, and Meta.
Oh, Meta, yeah.
That's what I forgot. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that
makes
doesn't
sense.
include some other companies like Salesforce and all those other
Oh,
ones.
yeah.
But unless these 4 companies decide to leave California, in a lot of ways, California can be just as dumb as it wants to be. And
Apple will never leave.
Apple will never leave, not in a million
It's
years.
too much. Their personality is the personality of the brand.
Apple-
And I say this as an Apple user. Too much of their personality is tied up in California. They can't because that's part of their brand, air quotes. They won't do it.
Yeah, but Apple left long time ago. What do they have there? Their headquarters and
That
Sorry,
still
who
matters,
left?
though.
Who left? What are we talking about?
Apple.
Apple
All
has
they have left in the Bay Area is their headquarters. Nothing else.
That is absolutely untrue.
Okay, they have front end stores, whatever.
No. That's not true. I know this because I drive around the Bay Area and I see Apple offices all over the damn place. There are tons of offices all around the Bay Area that still have Apple people working and doing stuff.
Are they okay?
I mean, there's the main
Are they
campus.
producing anything,
Yeah.
or are these just offices?
Well, I mean, they produce things in the same sense that any Apple office does something. These aren't construction facilities because all of the stuff is done overseas, except for the U.S. government computers which are made, I think, in Chatsworth.
Apple's main campus remains in Cupertino, California, at the iconic Apple Park, often referred to as the spaceship.
Yeah.
However, like many tech firms, Apple has expanded its operations outside of California,
Which is
for various
good.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cost efficiencies, tax benefits, or because California's just batshit crazy. They've set up significant operations in places like Austin, blah, 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 blah. And
Austin almost doesn't count.
Yeah,
I mean,
Austin's
and-
like little California.
Austin
it's like
is like
California
our-
enclave.
is our little enclave. You can go to San Jose International Airport, and they have several flights a day that go to Austin,
I don't doubt that.
which
And
American used to basically run several flights a day, and you would get on them. And like a lot of the people from AMD's been in Austin forever.
oh yeah,
And so you would have AMD people in Silicon Valley traveling back and forth to and from Austin all the time, which does beg the question, why haven't I gotten on one of those flights to go get some barbecue? Because I think about it every time I drive by San Jose International Airport. Why am I not stopping and going to Austin now?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So, but back to the point. So what is it that's being taxed?
it's Apple Park is being taxed, Infinite Loop, which is their lab space, and Apple offices, San Diego office, which
So
is where the
property
tech-
taxes?
And the
and
employees.
it's also the growing
And
tech,
employees.
and it's an
Okay.
engineering hub, and one of their largest distribution
So-
centers is in Elk Grove.
yeah.
Okay. So the nearly $1 trillion worth of consumer goods that they produce every year is not taxed and dwarfs the taxes on the income tax and property tax.
No, but
correct?
having
Well-
thousands and thousands and thousands of highly paid employees
That's
living
enough.
in your area, paying taxes into your economy is a huge thing. Because these people make really good money.
Sure, but
No,
I'm
but
talking
wait,
about
wait. There's also the tax implications of their stocks, right? So a lot of these people get paid in stocks, and the taxes that are paid on the various stock-related things that are involved here in many ways dwarf the taxes that they pay on personal income and stuff. So it is really significant that there are so many Apple people, et cetera, living in California. It really pumps up the tax base.
But is that not a drop in the bucket close to $1 trillion of goods that they produce annually? That could be taxed. That isn't being taxed because it's being made in places like China.
Well, the tax
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Is that not just a pittance compared to what the American tax revenue should be, like, or could be, not should be, could be, if they made all their shit, in Palo Alto or San Francisco or whatever, like the I'm trying to, like, the 19% or whatever that they 10% that they make off of all this stuff is it not a, like, drop in the bucket compared to the money that the company makes from producing goods that
Well-
isn't taxed?
Well, it's a multinational company, first of all. So they produce a bunch of goods. That cost of producing those goods is cost of goods sold. Those goods are sold throughout the United States and the world, right? So if a computer is sold in California, there's sales tax that's on it. That money that they make on that sale becomes profit that's in the US and in California. So they pay a certain amount of tax on that, right? But compared to the global Apple sales, obviously it's going to be less. So what you're doing is you're comparing local sales and global sales. So in addition to what the company pays in terms of taxes as a publicly traded corporation, there's also the taxes that at the state level that the people who live and work at Apple pay in. The state business taxes are not really that significant. There's the federal 21%, right? Skep, it's still 21% because Trump got
I
in.
think that's it. Yep.
Originally, it was in the 30s, and Trump got it knocked down, and Kamala wanted to push it back up to 28.
Yep.
And the main thing is, as bad as taxes are, you really don't want them to be higher than other countries because there's not a thing in the world stopping Apple from moving to Ireland if they got a better deal from Ireland for all of that money that you're talking about, Functional. So in terms of not paying taxes, they do a lot of totally legal things, much like a movie company would do. You know how the entertainment business is about hiding their their
Oh
profits.
yeah, how they organize their limited partnerships to get their money together.
Yeah.
Yes, I know exactly how that works.
So
I used to help them do that.
so that
when I was
that
a stockbroker.
that $1 trillion that you're talking about is spread out, all over the place, and isn't really the issue for California per se, because like I said, it's a multinational company and they sell stuff all over the world. I'm trying to answer your question. I think I'm answering it, but if I'm wrong, tell me. I mean, did I answer your question? Sort of.
No.
Okay.
But you added context that wasn't, and don't take this the wrong way, wasn't asked for. It's a simple answer. Yes, that they do a lot of. It might be legal, but it's not. I don't want to use the word ethical, but it's not entirely
Kosher?
sure. Like this is why I'm a proponent for the proposed tariffs, that if you have goods that are being produced in China, and remember, specifically China, the talk about tariffs was specifically just for China, because they not only want to try to inspire manufacturing domestically, but they want to dissuade anybody from doing any business with China.
Oh, okay. I follow.
okay.
I follow what you're saying. I think what you're
So-
saying
so-
is, wouldn't it be better if they also made these things in the U.S. rather than sending all the money to China for the production of these things? And the short answer to that is yes.
Just so some multi-billionaire could have an extra 600 million that year.
And honestly, if it was 10% more, I would happily, if I could, buy my Apple stuff from the place in Chatsworth. I would
That would depress bringing all the manufacturing back to the United States with the salary and benefits expectations and requirements of Americans would necessarily increase the cost of living. Think of what you're doing. This is a closed system, and you're artificially constraining something. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is it going to respond?
Well, you're not going to be funding weapons that are going to be one day potentially turned on you by people who despise and hate you and want to see you dead.
Okay, time out.
Let's
Time out.
Serenity in.
Time out. We're getting off the topic of the article that Harry brought up. We're taking a whole big loop-de-loo around.
Well,
Like,
yes, and
this
we
is
are
just-
going to run out of show before we run out of plan. But no, I totally agree with you. What would more likely happen than bringing it to the U.S. would be bringing it to Mexico. A lot of stuff is
That's
made in
fine.
Mexico for exactly the reasons you're talking about, and at least that puts it in our hemisphere.
And it doesn't matter if it's just the tariffs on China, because Apple saw this coming a mile away and has already moved a lot of its production since 2023 to India. And if we don't put tariffs on India's stuff too, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
India isn't really going to
They
Never
produced $14 billion worth of iPhones.
India isn't an enemy. In fact, they've been trying to westernize and get buddy with the UK, Canada, and the United States, and want to be.
Well, okay, but Serenity is, about accounting. I know this, and you know that in double entry accounting, you got to look at both sides of the ledger.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing about trade is, if there's two countries, and country A is really good at making product A, and country B is really good at making product B, it doesn't matter if there's mutual benefit for them to exchange products and money. It is actually to everybody's benefit as long as trade is sort of in balance. I don't care if the Apple computers are made in India, as long as India is buying jet engines, other things from us, and it's a good, healthy relationship where everybody benefits.
Yeah. my
Trade,
issue is-
you can't just look at one side of the trade equation without looking at the other side.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is that, but there's a lot of Indian politicians who have started to get bigger than their britches and have started making comments about the West. So I don't know if they're going to be our allies for very much longer.
And thank you, chat, for not all abandoning us when we started talking about
Yes.
balance of trade.
Thank you.
Bless you for not leaving us on that. So I did have a thought, and I mentioned Salesforce.
Oh,
I
God.
found. No, okay, hold on. I found this article which I find interesting. So 20 is building an open source alternative to Salesforce.
Thank
Now,
you, Jesus.
Salesforce is a huge political force, right?
Yes, they are.
And if you've got a company that makes a bunch of money, but their only product is essentially vaporware,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
What is stopping somebody with like real money from bankrolling like really AAA class open source alternatives to the products that are made by the companies that are fiddling about in politics that shouldn't be?
God,
Because if you decide you don't like what Salesforce is doing and Benioff, I think his name is, and you don't like that,
Yep.
why couldn't some billionaire on the right just say, fine, I'm going to cut your profit margin in half by
Oh God.
by just making an open source alternative that you can host at your own data center. You don't have to use software as a service. I'm not saying this is a good idea, but it occurred to me that if you're not actually manufacturing a product, why not?
Just to be clear, my animosity for Salesforce is because I had to use it for 3.5 years. That's where my animosity comes from. I don't give a fuck who owns the company. But it's just I had to use it and deal with some of their tier 1 workers, and I wanted to reach through the phone and slap some people. That's where my animosity comes from. That's all it is.
Well, we've got all these billionaires. I mean, Salesforce is a good product, honestly, but
it is, but it's annoying too. I get
but
what
they
you're
but
saying,
they kind of sort of have a monopoly. But if
Yes, they do.
But since politics and money are kind of getting intertwined, what's stopping some political person who throws tons of money around from just getting 100 world-class developers, paying them 50% more than they'd make, and just making an open source alternative?
to be
And just
completely
giving it to
fair-
the world and just saying, here, Benioff, enjoy losing half your business.
Well, I mean, part of the issue is the social animosity that comes from working with someone on the right wing. That's what stops a lot, because there are people in tech who are left wing air quotes and right wing air quotes, but there are some who have made it, as we saw from COVID when you had all the stupid people doing "Get my knife at Google." A lot of them are left wing, and the animosity and the social basically ostracized from society makes some people paranoid. Now, I don't want it to be that way, and I would like someone to do it just because I do not agree with monopolies, and I think there should be more than one. Mostly because Salesforce annoys me, but it's still a good product. I agree with you. It still annoyed me. But, yeah.
So, okay, on a related note, Photoshop Elements. Apparently, Adobe has finally gotten around to trying to screw over people on Photoshop Elements. You know that whole thing where you just buy it and then it's yours to use forever? Well, Adobe doesn't like that. They like it way better where you give them money all the time forever.
And
Yeah,
that's the reason why I don't
all
use it.
software companies are like that, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't use it anymore. I don't use
And there are a lot of open source alternatives to this sort of stuff.
There sure is.
And so unless you're a professional photographer,
Bye-bye.
because they're
Bye-bye.
trying to do the same thing that VMware did with, or I say Broadcom did with VMware. Well, yeah, we're
Broadcom,
raising the
right.
price and stuff, but we're giving you more value by bundling it with all this other shit
And
that you
everybody
totally
said,
care about, but don't.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. So God.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, how do I say this?
Hyper-V'd their ass right out of
How
it.
do I say this nicely? There's a lot of photographers, mostly wedding photographers,
Yeah.
who, because I have a bit of a background in photography, not a whole hell of a lot, but I have enough to be able to tell when it's just an effing filter they're using, as in one that's preloaded in Photoshop, specifically in Photoshop Elements, and then try to act like they bent over their computer for hours upon hours and then get to charge $5,000 for it.
Yeah.
I want Photoshop Elements to go away just so this way I can see who the actual photographers are and not the bullshit ones. That's my thing. Same thing with video editing. A lot of YouTube video editors use Adobe, and it's just like there are better ones out there. Stop using the ones just because some idiot on a Discord server
That's what
sold it to
everybody
you.
knows. That's what everybody knows.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know Sony Vegas because I taught myself Sony Vegas. But yeah, no, most of the video editors.
That's the one that I've used is Vegas. Yeah.
It's better in my personal opinion.
Well, didn't
And
I
the only one I've ever
tempt
used.
you into going over to Affinity? Didn't
Affinity I use for the art stuff. I don't use that for video.
I mean,
editing stuff
Affinity
'cause
makes great software. I
Oh, they
use it
do.
all the
Yes, they
time. And so, don't need Photoshop, don't need Publisher, I use Affinity for a lot of stuff. And I also use the full open source stuff, like something called the GNU image manipulation program, the GIMP.
I love GIMP.
Yeah,
The
Gimp's
GIMP
good too.
is actually pretty great.
Very great.
And they have like it's even on the Apple Store because it's specifically made for Apple Procreate. If you do like drawing art and you have a iPad and a pencil, one of the drawing pencils, that one's like a one-time $10 fee, and they're updating it all the time.
Yeah.
They don't charge you. It's just like I want Adobe to die.
I just feel like there's a real opportunity for open source to, which is kind of under siege in a lot of ways, to really make a comeback as part of philanthropy.
I want it to. I want open source stuff.
Because even if you just have a little bit of money, you don't even need Soros money. Just throw a little bit of money around, and you could make the world a better place for a lot of people.
If there was the right kind of oversight and transparency, you could even like crowdsource it. There would have to be a lot of transparency and oversight, but
here, let me tell you about an idea that I had that I'm not going to act on, so I'm not giving anything up. Here's what Harry would like to see.
Okay.
Open source hardware and software for voting machines.
Yeah. I've heard you've talked about it, Skep's talked about it.
Exactly. Why not?
Other people have talked about it.
Who the hell needs proprietary stuff? Just publish all the source code. You know, here's some open hardware. You take this hardware, you put it together. You know, just like it's based on some Raspberry Pi units. It would be completely secure. You could audit the code. It wouldn't matter. Just why does that need to have a closed source anything?
Yeah,
it could be completely open source.
I mean,
you could have 100% transparency up to, but not including the name of the person casting the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice. I would like a lot of open source stuff.
But paper ballots are pretty cool too, so I'm not sure we need to solve this problem.
I still like, yeah. I'm very old, crotchety, slightly steampunkish in that. Give me the paper.
Oh,
I will make sure there's no hanging chads. I will make sure I will, but give me the paper. I want the paper.
Well, do me a favor and help me keep an eye on the chat too, because they're being very talkative.
Are they being rambunctious?
No, they're being fine. It's just I'm not good at multitasking. The difference is I know I'm not good at multitasking. I think people who think they're good at multitasking are adorable.
Yeah.
Green Badger.
Yeah.
GIMP is
Bless your heart.
really good. It's like one of the best ones that's out there for photo stuff. If you draw, it is not something I recommend. There's another one that's for drawing.
Well, it's not really a drawing program, but like Inkscape and some of the other ones are really good for drawing.
Oh, you'd be amazed how many artists use Photoshop to draw.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, why in Jesus' name would you do that?
So if you're a professional, a lot of the plugins you can use for something like Photoshop or Affinity make certain things way easier. And if you're making a living doing it, that's one thing. But if you're like semi-retired or like an advanced amateur, you don't want to pay that kind of money for stuff.
Krita is the open source drawing one. It's got a tiny bit of a learning curve. That one's a good one. Also, there's stuff like Humble Bundle that gives money to charity that'll sometimes have Corel Paint on there.
I used to use Xfig.
Xfig, yeah. No,
Xfig.
Yeah.
Xfig
but
and Dia.
Like, there's a lot of places you can go. Just don't use Adobe and stop giving them money.
Actually, if you're just trying to diagram how a process works, there's a thing called Dot, which is great. So you basically describe what a graph looks like, and it just draws it for you. Ah, so beautiful. I love it. Anyway, why are we talking about this?
We got sidetracked.
Okay, let's see. I've mentioned Apple TV a few times, and this isn't going to be a long article, but I hadn't realized they've spent $20 billion on content.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it's almost more a vanity project for them because clearly they're not making their money back.
I think they're using it to launder money personally.
But Apple makes so much money that they can just afford to have this around as like a status symbol. Like, look, me too. I don't know if, as a shareholder, I feel good about this.
Apple has so much money that it could launder money and it would be not auditable. I guarantee you.
Still more transparent than the Pentagon.
But it's like still like most of the shows on Apple TV, like all streaming services, Netflix is like this, Disney Plus is like this, Prime is like this, aren't worth watching. Like Silo's really good, Shrinking is good, and what was the one you were talking about, Harry?
Foundation.
Foundationers are really good.
Slow Horses is really good. Some people I think say Argyle is good.
I
don't know. I haven't seen Argyle, but I watched a little bit of Slow Horses. I mean, it's like Gary Oldman shows up. I'm in. You know, anytime I see Gary Oldman, I know it's
Yeah.
gonna be good.
But it's
Yep.
like you know, but when you look at the list of shows they have, and you're just sitting there going, "What the fuck is half of this?"
I have so much stuff we could talk about. I do want to talk a little bit about Doge, but we're not going to talk about the whole Doge thing. I want to come at it from a slightly different perspective. Javier Milei, my favorite politician practically, was on Lex
My new spirit animal.
Friedman's show for a 3-hour thing where they actually did a really nice job on it production wise, which you'll see in a moment, with the way they handled the translation. And they had the stuff in his native language as a second audio channel.
That's cool.
Why don't more people make use of it? I mean, it's a beautiful production that he put together, but this is him speaking basically his advice to Elon about Doge.
So, my advice would be for them to go all the way, to push it to the very limit, and do not give up. Do not let down their guard. Furthermore, that agenda does not have political purpose, because at the end of the day, you are removing privileges. Of course, there will be people complaining, but these are people who are losing privileges, so they will have to explain to society why they are keeping those privileges. And that is quite uncomfortable.
I love this man. I love this man.
He just understands human nature so well.
Sorry, it was only a 2-hour interview, but the first part of this, he actually talks about how he developed the views on economics. So basically, how he got introduced to the Austrian school. I am not an Austrian school simp, by the way. I'm aware of them and I agree with a lot of stuff, but I also like Milton Friedman and a lot of the other schools.
Yeah, I'm more of a Friedman.
I admit to
guy.
being a dirty centrist and not picking a side, whatever. But
Yep.
I think he's absolutely right. Now, he was faced with what effectively was 17,000% inflation and went in and just cut away all the necrotic tissue and has been fixing things. He's got a whole bureau of people that are essentially doing what Doge does, and they look at all of the impediments to the economy, things that are unnecessary, and also the regulations that need to be done away with. And on average, they're getting rid of 5 regulations a day. Beautiful.
Man,
My-
that
my
just
i-
makes my heart sing.
My issue with Doge is that, considering the past statements of Elon, this is a man who sat there and talked about AI needs to be something we need to be afraid of. We don't need to do AI, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden he's got robots coming out that have AI, who was sitting there talking about we need to be careful with it. We don't need to rely on it. We don't need to trust it, all this kind of stuff. And he also has a lot of business in China. Like, part of the reason why Tesla cars are getting such low grades when it comes to build quality is because the ones built in China are shit. I want to believe he can't be easily taken in, and I'm glad that there's someone else there. I'm going to say his name wrong. Vivek?
Ramaswamy, yeah.
Yeah, Ramaswamy.
Vivek, I think it is.
Vivek.
But I'm wrong
Apologies.
about all such things. So don't listen to me.
We're gonna go with it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's someone there to watch him. The fact that it's also named after that stupid crypto coin that he came up with pisses me off on a level, because it feels like he's trying to use it to push his goddamn coin again.
You know what the difference is between you and me on that? I'm choosing to not let it bother me.
And good for you.
That is
I'm not.
that is how a lot of things are for me. An imaginary girlfriend doesn't understand why certain things don't bother me. It's like I'm choosing to not let it bother
and
me.
that good for you. I am
It's like
not.
water off a duck's back. But go on.
But that's my issue. I want him to succeed. I want to make this very clear. I have said this about if Kamala had won, I would want Kamala to make the country better in a way that actually was better for people. So there are certain things he just ticks that just make me side-eye him, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm reading it wrong, and I swear to God, same thing with Tulsi, same thing with RFK. I hope I'm wrong with every fiber of my being, and they do everything right for this country, and we do amazing. I do, but I don't trust any of them as far as I can effing throw them. And I don't trust Elon because he, like every human being on this planet, has shown that if his ego gets stroked the right way, he will absolutely just putter along on his leash.
Among other
And-
things, giggity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my issue. I have massive respect for what Malay's doing. I want to see in 10 years to see if it sticks. Because yeah, he did good stuff in the short term. Long term is what fucking matters. And it's amazing and it's awesome, but who knows if he mysteriously dies, air quotes, or whatever. And that's my thing. It's like, I have respect for this. I have respect for the fact of what they're trying to do. I hope everything succeeds. I am skeptical.
Well, it's never over. It's
Oh,
never
yeah.
it's never going to be over. Now,
Oh, I know.
because you notice communism is a completely failed thing. You know, socialism
It
is
always
failed.
will fail.
It's
Yeah.
just there's enough younger people that don't remember what
Oh, yeah.
that it should be just a dead ideology.
Yeah.
It's a
and the
failed
thing is-
idea and it should just be gone. But over time, these things are they're these little unflushable turds of ideas that you can't quite seem to get rid of. And I think
Stupid, loud people get a hold of it and amplify it through social media, and all of a sudden, we're talking about communism as though it was an actual viable alternative.
yeah, and it never was. You can't get you look at the growth curve. You go, okay, Western countries versus the Eastern Bloc, and you just look at it. And
conversation.
not only was things were improving in the Eastern Bloc, but not only were they improving faster in the Western countries, the rate at which they were improving was also increasing. The first and second derivatives were both against them.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to be a while before people can get away with saying, hey, why can't we bring this other thing back? Oh, you mean the thing that we had when we had 17,000% inflation?
Yeah.
It's going to be a little while before somebody
yeah.
can get away with saying that without everybody just laughing at them and throwing old potatoes.
And that's the thing. Like, I hope it succeeds. It's just, it's just a niggling at the back of my brain.
Nope.
That's all I can. That's all I got.
And the Doge thing is kind of cringe, but I think Malay is fantastic.
Oh yeah, respect for what he's done
is-
because he's done massively well.
He did something very, very hard, very, very well, and also
And very, very quickly.
let's not
too.
forget that Functional wants to get in here, but really
Yeah.
quickly,
Oh, sorry.
the Doge thing is not going to be Elon and Vivek with a bunch of printouts, with the green and white paper and the big
Yeah, I
long
know.
ruler going through that. What they're going to do is they're going to get a bunch of really competent people, and because there's so much crap, you could just swing a dead cat and hit 5 regulations per day that could be gotten rid of. It's going to be so easy for them to be successful. I don't know how they could be anything but successful because of how bad the situation in Washington is.
True, and like I said, I hope they do it. But you also have to remember these are the same people who we've had. The people who are going to be screaming the loudest are the same people who we've already had Trump as president once for 4 years, and none of the crap they said was going to happen happened, and they're still screaming about it on social media.
Some of
It's
it
not-
happened.
Well, and like gay marriage going away, that didn't happen.
Oh, you
Like,
mean the bad things? No, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
yeah.
and that's what I'm getting at is that
What about January 6th? Worse than the Civil War.
That's true,
Much
but
worse. Death toll much higher.
But no Functional left behind. What were you going to
yes,
say?
go for it,
Functional?
functional.
Oh, I was just going to mention that Malay, I want to say doubled or tripled tariffs to China. Didn't really hurt anything. But that was because of all the other stuff that he did. And
Yeah. No, Malay is he is the dude, and honestly, I recommend everybody who has even a passing interest in economics take the time to watch this whole Lex Friedman video because it's very, very good. And honestly, the production values I think are exceptionally good too. This is good content that he puts out.
yeah, the CIA is really good at making content.
Good job.
So, sorry, you don't just show up one day and have 4 million subscribers and
His,
Well, I mean,
his,
if you're gonna-
his family's pretty famous.
Well, it's the Freemans are famous, but he got there because of Elon. So then Elon also fell for the CIA.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm going to skip. Let's see. Where are we? Oh gosh, we have 40 minutes left. We can skip this one. Let's talk about what I just called total recalls. So there were a couple more recalls. Remember we talked about the butter recall because it wasn't marked may contain dairy. So they had to get rid of 40,000 pounds of butter. Stupidest damn thing in the world.
Jesus
Now
Christ.
there's
Okay, well, I've
big
got a
beef
couple other
recall.
contenders
Oh,
for you.
I
Ice
see.
cream recall update as more products impacted.
We deserve
Okay,
this, right?
a notice shared to the FDA
Babcock.
website on Tuesday informs consumers that Wisconsin-based Babcock Dairy was voluntarily expanding its recall of orange custard chocolate chip ice cream that may be labeled as chocolate peanut butter. Okay, so they accidentally put orange custard chocolate chip ice cream in containers that say chocolate peanut butter on the outside.
Yeah.
And because they put that in there, they're thinking it might be an allergen risk. Okay, so you're a Joe consumer. You think you just bought chocolate peanut butter and you open it and you're confronted with orange custard chocolate chip. Do you really think, credibly speaking, that anybody who isn't a complete imbecile is going to not realize immediately that the wrong ice cream is in this container?
This peanut butter sucks.
This peanut butter absolutely sucks. And why does my chocolate seem very much like orange sherbet?
Well, the thing is that some people don't look. Like, you think I'm kidding? I'm not. Some
Yeah.
people don't freaking look, and they just end. I'm glad it's not labeled
Make
the
Darwin's
other way
opinion.
Okay.
because the peanut allergies are bad.
Exactly. You seized on the thing. So orange custard chocolate chip is in there. There's no allergen in there that wouldn't have been in the original product. If anything, there are fewer. So
Yeah,
you may
unless you
have
have
a
a citrus
legitimate
allergy.
beef with your grocer, right? You go and say, I wanted to eat this shitty chocolate peanut. I hate peanut butter, by the way. I wanted to eat this disgusting chocolate peanut butter ice cream, and instead I had delicious orange custard chocolate chip ice cream. I want my money back, and then you get the money back. But as a recall, okay. I mean,
the thing is,
technically,
there is-
yes.
Well, there is such a thing as a citrus allergy.
There is?
Yeah,
Well, that's sad.
that's the reason why they're doing the recalls, because there is citrus allergy isn't as commonplace as the peanut butter allergy, which is sad. Peanut allergy, not peanut butter allergy.
Yeah, if you're blind and you can't smell and you're
Or if you're a
horribly
little
allergic to
kid,
orange, I guess
or if you're a little-
possibly this might be a threat to you.
Or you're a little kid who reaches into the
Yeah.
fridge because your
There's-
mother says you can get it, and you have a citrus allergy, and you stick a spoon
And
in
you
there.
ride the short
Those-
bus to
those-
school.
Yeah,
And
those
you go to
those
anaphylactic
those
shock.
3 people in North America.
Yeah. I think we should just keep their numbers by a phone somewhere at the FDA,
Yeah,
and then we just call
exactly.
those 3 people directly when something like this happens. Okay, so here's another recall.
5% of children under 5 have that food allergy.
Well, we need to. I don't know. It just feels like Darwinism
the
needs
herd.
to take its. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to kill children. So here's another recall, which is like going to be not particularly effective. Okay, popular anxiety drug being recalled nationwide for possibly life-threatening error.
Yeah, it's a breathing. It will cause breathing problems.
Okay,
I have a friend whose mom's on it.
this
that
is
she had to send her-
clonazepam,
Yep.
which is a fine drug in that family of drugs.
Yeah, it's also very, very well tolerated, very, very well tested and tolerated.
Yeah.
It's not even particularly addicting for benzodiazepine. That's the family of drugs. It's
Well, it's a lot
derived
like
from diazepam.
well, it's a lot like
which is
Xanax,
Valium.
but longer acting.
Right.
So if you've got
exactly.
if you've got somebody who's got an anxiety thing that isn't like an anxiety attack, but more of a persistent anxiety, clonazepam is a good drug. Don't take medical advice from me. I'm just telling you what I've read off the PDR.
No, what you'll read in the package insert or in the PDR is that clonazepam is possibly effective, is the way that they term it, in treating chronic anxiety, and that the kind of anxiety that starts when you wake up and doesn't end
Does not
until you go to sleep.
Yeah, amongst the different benzodiazepam type compounds, what really differentiates them is half-life more than anything else.
Yes.
Because depending on what level of coverage how long you want it to act and how strong you want it to be, you can pick amongst this whole family between lorazepam, Xanax, clonazepam,
All the way up-
Valium, all
all
the
the way
through.
up to fluazepam, transine,
Yeah.
which will make you very, very
Yeah.
grown.
If your life is bad enough that you need those things, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, the transient they give to the people in
The burn
alcoholic,
ward, you know.
or in the DTs where he's going to shake himself to death,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they give them that, or they'll even give them it's another benzodiazepine that they give them IV.
Well, sometimes you just want somebody to feel better and have a case of the forgetties.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of
Give 'em IV
legitimate reasons
Valium.
why a doctor might prescribe these drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, so what ended up happening was, I think in the very, very low dose, they accidentally gave one dose higher on some, and it was only the box that was wrong. The blister packs were actually correct. So you go to the pharmacy, you get your clown pills, and instead of having the lowest dose, you're one dose up. I'm thinking most consumers probably wouldn't have minded all that much.
Wait, what was it 1 milligram marked as 2 milligrams or 2 milligrams marked as 1 milligram?
It was 1.25 it was 0.25 milligrams marked as 1.25. So to say
that's a huge difference.
to say that it's a life-threatening difference.
It is.
It is.
It absolutely
Yeah.
is. Yeah, because the way that benzodiazepine tolerance works, you'll start somebody off at when you're dosing benzodiazepines, you're talking in terms of pieces of a gram. You're talking in terms of tenths of a gram.
Well, it depends on the benzo, but yeah.
Depends on the benzo, but by and large, that's the way that family of drugs is dosed. And when you go to something that is 500 or 300% greater than the dose your body is used to, you will begin to cover up those breathing receptors, and you'll start to depress the respiration. That's the way all those adrenergic nerve receptors work.
That's the warning they gave, is that it can cause breathing issues. Well,
Yep.
not breathing
Well,
issues.
hell
but-
yeah, it's the
So
same group of nerves.
Yeah, it's a very huge deal.
I feel like if you had most people taking this stuff, if they were taking more than they were supposed to, this
No.
2x
This is
stuff,
only twice as much. This is only twice as much, not 3 times.
But still,
I think they would be
I-
more likely to get into a car crash or something because they would have unexpected side effects that they didn't expect. I don't
Okay.
think they'd
All
have
my-
a CNS shutdown.
Okay. Wait.
This is just layperson Harry guessing.
All my comments were based on my misperception. I thought this was 5 times the dose, not twice the dose.
Yeah.
Twice the dose you get away with. That's probably not life-threatening most of the time.
And honestly,
it can really slow you down and really will mess you up for a day or two, but your body will get used to that actually pretty quickly.
okay, here's my hot take. My hot take is that prescription drugs are inherently dangerous.
Yep.
And you, as the consumer, need to caveat emptor like crazy. Always read your PDR thing. Always talk to your doctor. Always talk to your pharmacist. Double check every single thing they get you. If the pills do not look the way that they usually do, ask. And, if you pull these things out of the box and it says 0.125 and the pill on the blister pack says 0.25, ask.
And
You
if this is complicated, WebMD is your friend.
But doctors and pharmacists screw this shit up all the time.
Yep.
So if you're taking a dangerous medicine like this, you need to be like on top of this shit if you want to make sure that your friends and people you care about don't take the wrong drug or the wrong dose of the thing.
but there's still the issue, like people who have MR or developmental issues, if they have a carer who's not a nurse and doesn't know, and they get the wrong thing, it can cause problems. There's also, I don't think children are all this. I think this is too high to be for children to be on.
No.
But I have a friend who is a carer. She's not a registered nurse. She does not have a nursing background, but she has to give meds. And while she knows some stuff, she knows that what's in the blister package is what you give them. And this can, once again, cause some issues. I completely get where everyone's coming from, but at the same time,
Yeah.
There are those who can't do the things you're asking because they either are mentally incapable or they are relying on people who may not give a shit
Yeah.
to do it for them.
You've
And
got
that's
one
the
job.
problem.
Don't
Yeah.
screw it up. Oh,
And people do it all the time.
Dr. Darwin doesn't discriminate against them.
but I'm totally serious about, you cannot just rely on the system. If you want to,
No,
if
yeah.
you want to be safe, you got to
You
stay
have
on
a
top of
duty
this
of
stuff.
care to yourself
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
active measures to know something. That's what Harry's saying. He's absolutely right.
Let me
Yeah.
drag functional back in here. So functional.
Mhm.
Speaking
Nice.
of, you had one job. I got this bill from the power company for the slump, which is the slum plus dump equals the shitty place I have in Silicon Valley. And it said that my power use had gone up 103% versus the year before. And I'm like, that seems wrong. And then I remembered that they put in like new power distribution panels and stuff. And I thought to myself, they didn't put my meter on somebody else's power, did they? And I went down and checked, and they actually did that. There's like a whole bunch of these power meters, and I'm pretty sure
Harry.
that they scrambled. They're just like, it was like a key party in the 70s. Everybody's power meter was hooking up with the wrong person at the end of this shit. And I just shake my head. It's like, you have one job. How freaking hard is it to not screw this up? It's not hard, right?
No.
It's just like, I had a wire, put a label on that one, put a label on this, and then hook them back up together. But apparently, I just went and took like a space heater and turned it on and off and said, yeah, that's not connected to my meter.
Yeah, Harry, nobody ever went broke underestimating human stupidity.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the little Charlie Foxtrot because I have to make some calls. I already told the management company, and they're going to look into it, and we're going to talk in the afternoon. I'm going to call the power company and say, guess what? Guess what? Everything is screwed up, and this is going to be fun. I kind of just want to watch the shit show unfold. A part of me is actually kind of interested in what's going to happen because I know at the end of the day, I'm not going to pay somebody else's bill.
No, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of in that situation now, and
Just interesting to see how it will shake out. Sorry, go ahead, Functional.
Well, I'm kind of in a similar situation, and I am going to have to pay for their fuck up because for some mysterious reason, there was a period of 2 months where our electricity use was tripled. And it just so happened it was only at peak times. And I mean, like, I even asked Elwin, I looked at myself, I said, well, we weren't doing anything. It's not like I was suddenly baking 24/7 or something, like there was nothing changed. The rate, again, peak hours, so the rate did go up a bit, but triple the electricity use in a building where if I turn on the coffee maker and the blender, or the coffee maker and the microwave, or the microwave and the vacuum at the same time, I blow every fuse in the apartment. I'm sorry, that's just not physically fucking possible.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're getting me off on it. And I'm complaining to I wrote my ombudsman. I talked to the power company. I talked to like 2 other consumer protection agencies, and they all said, well, no, there's nothing we can do about it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I can literally say, get your ass out here, and I will show you that it is not connected to my unit.
Yeah, that's a physical
easy.
thing. But in a building like this, it's shared, so it's all on the same grid, and then they look at where the power is going, and if it's going through one unit, then it's getting anyway. It is very different, but it's also similar, like power companies. We never had this problem when it was a public utility. I'm just saying.
Oh, I understand.
I'm joking.
All right. Gosh, we have so much stuff we could talk about. Is there a particular type of thing you would like to see functional?
Food.
You want a food thing? Okay.
Kittens, food. Video games.
Okay, well, I've got this in front of me, so we'll
Or
do
hamsters.
this really quickly. So there was an April
That'll move.
Fool's joke. A Japanese company put out a thing where they said they were going to make like this retro-style PC case. And so many people thought it was a good idea that they decided to actually make this thing. So Silverstone is making this retro style PC case. It even has a working drawer for your CD-ROM. And I have to say that a modern motherboard in this case kind of appeals to me. I could see Skep wanting this.
Yeah, I've got my eye on it right now. I'm thinking about building it.
It's definitely a threat deterrent too.
It is, and but you could also pair this with like a retro style keyboard, because there's a bunch of them that look very much like old Commodore keyboards and stuff, and that'd be kind of a cool aesthetic. I actually kind of like.
I want to
this.
get a hold of one of the old IBM PC keyboards.
Okay, we're not going to talk about Beamspring keyboard. No, we're not going to talk about this. For one thing, the signals are nasty, and I can show you a guide on how to actually make the old Beamspring keyboards work, but it's not trivial. It's quite the little engineering project, because these actually predate like the PS2 connector, the ones you're talking about, right?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the one with the PS2 connector.
Oh, you can get keyboards like that. That's actually not hard.
I know you can. You get cloned.
I think honestly, if we were going to hook Skep up with a keyboard, what might be interesting is the Happy Hacker keyboard, and that's a Japanese-made thing. It's a little expensive, but it has like a type of switch that's a membrane switch that gives a very distinct sort of thing. And I think you might really like the Happy Hacker keyboard.
Is that the soft thing that it's mush? It doesn't click at all.
No. It's still a switch type thing, but it's a membrane switch, and it's not like a cheap keyboard at all.
Oh, okay.
A lot of hackers like these. You might actually really like that one. But let's see.
I'm looking at it's like $250.
It's an investment. It's a thing that professionals use. Let's see. You said food. Oh, but can I interest you in some nuclear reactors? I know you like those,
that's
right?
Food.
Hey, we're building those down here in Texas.
Exactly.
Did
Texas
you know that?
Announces plan for advanced nuclear reactors across the state worth over $50 billion.
Which kind of reactors?
But the advanced ones, the slightly smaller ones that don't melt down.
Well, these are the.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, these are the traditional ones that US
No, these are
is
Gen
using.
4.
No, but I mean that they're not like lifters. They're not like the non-traditional, the new fuck, what's the name of them? Anyway, sure, you answered my question, so it's moot. Anyway.
Yeah, they're Gen 4 reactors. So
yeah.
There'd be more of them spread out all over the place. The nice thing about this is that if you had these, they might cost more than solar, but they want to basically say, hey, businesses, hey, people, how would you like your power grid to be super reliable? Come rain, come wind,
come
wind,
Armageddon,
snow,
like you'll still have power.
Locusts, pretty much anything, we're going to have
and
power.
cats living together, mass hysteria.
Because, cheap is great, but reliable is so good.
Do you know one of the things that's driving this is the drive to get rid of soft coal? Soft coal is the dirty burning coal, and Texas is the second largest provider of all the states, I think, after North Dakota, of lignite in the United States. We're ahead of Pennsylvania, which is primarily anthracite coal. And so we're trying to stop that. We're trying to not mine that. We're actually reclaiming the mines in eastern Texas and laying off known coal reserves in central Texas with an idea toward moving toward nuclear. This is a really positive development, but that's what's driving this a lot. These are like 300 megawatt reactors, these little reactors.
Yeah, little. They add up, though.
Yep.
So,
I think they're looking at like 15 of them, aren't they? Or
let's talk about having a bunch of them. I'm going to switch back to food, though. Only fast food chain restaurant Einegarten will eat at. You know which one it's going to be, right, Functional? Do I even need to tell you?
I don't know who this is,
She's a famous cook, not as famous as Anthony Bourdain, and the answer is the same answer as Anthony Bourdain. It's In-N-Out Burger. I always tell you In-N-Out Burger is like the thing, but a lot of
Never had it.
it's one of these local burger things that everybody raves about, and I vouch for it. Anthony Bourdain vouches for it. A lot
I
of people.
vouch for it also. That's where we go.
It's
So,
just it's just like
superior.
it's just superior. And Shake Shack is entertaining, but it's just not as good.
It's not as good as In-N-Out. In-N-Out is the best. Whataburger is good too, but In-N-Out is the best.
Okay, so you said food. So here's a thing that I saw, and I thought this looks pretty
Barbecue
cool to
braised
me.
beef fry. I've got some mashed
Let's
potatoes.
kill that. So he's actually taking mashed potatoes, putting barbecue beef, putting more mashed potatoes on top,
That's what I'm talking about.
and then he puts it in the deep fryer.
Oh yeah, baby.
I really like this idea because it's like both of those things are delicious, but then if you deep fry them, you know they're going to be even more delicious.
It's what's for dinner.
Gotta say, I kind of like this idea. I've never eaten anything quite like this. I don't know about you, Functional.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been to the Texas State Fair. I eat stuff like that every time I go.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had all kinds of bizarre things. Deep fried Clark bars, everything you can think of.
Okay, I got one more food thing. Okay, this is giving their baby bacon for the first time.
When they gave their baby bacon for the first time, they weren't expecting this to happen. Take a look.
Look at this kid's face.
hey, hey now.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's the same expression my kitten makes when she gets bacon.
It's like life was kind of boring. Can't talk, can't do anything. Wait a second. Here, let's try this bacon again. That's food. Gotta chew it. Wait a second. Oh!
That's not bad. I have a reason for living.
Everything's fine now because there's bacon.
Right. Because bacon. Bacon is proof that God wants us to be happy.
Yeah, give me a shout when Serenity shows up again. Let's see. Dakota Johnson. Because I've got a few animal things that I want to keep her with. Here's another thing. So this is, I've seen a lot of the Toronto running community, but this guy wins. So he's got these maps of his runs, and he's supposedly done these runs in such a way that when you look at the maps, it makes this little animation. Now, I know how you can totally fake this, but if this is even remotely true, this is way beyond just drawing a dick with an airplane trail.
It's definitely fake because you can't run through houses.
Those are streets, aren't they?
Well, no, because if you look just above Little Italy, there's a block there, and those are, I know that neighborhood. Trust me, I'm not too far from there. This is my town. I know this place like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
That's just straight up track housing. There's like no backyards. Like even if he was jumping backyards, so he's a criminal, arrest him for multiple trespass. It's fake. I hate how fake everything is.
Okay, well, here's something that's fake because we were talking about the nuclear reactors in Texas, and what that reminded me of was there was a movie that they made. A couple decades ago, probably, called Atomic Twister.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, here's Atomic. Is this the wrong video? Is this everything just trying to piss me off?
Inspired by true events. The biggest
This is the wrong one. I want Atomic Twister, and it fed me New York City Tornado Terror. Well, that's annoying. You know, I used to watch every single tornado movie I could find, and the worse it was, the happier I was. So this one has Nicole DeBoer from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and she's just, it's not a good movie. No, the tornado movie I wanted to show you, which I don't know why we're not getting it, is one where they have tornadoes going tearing up nuclear reactors. And I thought, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I found it. I brought it up. When tornadoes hit a nuclear power plant, critically damaging the plant's cooling system, the results could be catastrophic. And it's like this orange and green tornado that's like ripping through.
I mean,
somewhere. I don't
in
know.
terms of the
Volcano.
Texas tornado threat to the reactors, it's not that hard to harden a reactor, even a small one, to the fact that like a Category 5 tornado is not going to, I'm sorry, an F5 tornado is not going to take the thing out.
It isn't gonna like blow radioactive debris everywhere. No.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only natural disaster I'd sort of worry about is I mean, you have floods, right, Skep?
Sure.
So don't put it in a floodplain. And if it's,
You think?
and
The
maybe
entire-
put enough
the
concrete around it that it can handle an F5 tornado, I mean, what
The
bad
entire
thing can
state of-
happen?
The entire state of Texas is a floodplain. I mean, basically, except for the far eastern part.
Yeah.
Everything else, water runs across a slant. Okay, that's just the way Texas is. That's why we have all those rivers that flow into the Gulf.
Mhm.
Those are drainage ditches. And so, what happens with Texas is, and with water and all the I'm just trying to convey the complexity of climate in Texas. Never mind.
Understood.
I lost it. I glitched.
Okay, here's
I was going to make a point.
here's
Never got
another
me.
movie which was terrible, and this one better be the right damn movie or I'm going to be pissed off at myself. Okay, so this guy's flying around in his like little plane, and then so this is from so he sees all this stuff
You
on the
didn't bring it
horizon.
up. It's still on tornado terror.
It is?
Yeah,
How is that possible?
I don't know.
It's a miracle.
That's amazing because I have literally loaded another
There we
thing
go.
and it is
There
not
it
showing
is.
it.
Now
Man,
it is.
OBS is amazing, isn't it? Okay.
Like
Their
user
system
error.
up ahead?
Not that I'm aware of. Stand by.
Is that bees?
That's bees.
Bee strike.
Some kind of insects.
895
Oh
Alpha.
no, not insects.
Insects?
Ow! Yeah, it's bees.
Lawyers, stockbrokers, get them out of here.
Aircraft.
Yeah, so the bees are coming inside this airplane. It's like, this is like so not how this works.
Yeah,
Now,
it's bees.
obviously you wouldn't want to fly through bees, but bees are not going to just come in unharmed through the air vents.
That just doesn't have
None of
Would you
this
like
is
to
correct.
any time in an airplane.
None
Would
of
you
this
like to
is
tell the
correct.
people how you got stung by a bee? Yes, you got stung. She got stung by a bee because she was being stupid and chasing bees.
Yeah. I mean,
They're annoying.
TV is really lame and stupid.
I have. This is something we cover on the Thursday show, the movie review show on Tyr's and Mitch's channels, respectively, on YouTube and Rumble. Is that like no matter how bad a piece of art like these films that we watch can be, like
Mhm.
we always at the end of the day have the mad respect that people got a project done and finished it and created something, even though it's like, you know, terrible. It's like a bad premise. It's bad acting, bad this, bad that, blah 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 blah. It's always good to know at the end of the day that these people had an idea and they made it. They made it happen.
Yeah.
I love it. Like every now and again you get like cult classics like Sharknado.
And Sharknado 2.
Sharknado 2, we don't talk about Sharknado 2. But like Sharknado, Piranha, like these are awful B movies.
Piranaconda. That was also a movie.
Piranaconda.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're some of them you get these little gems. They're not quite diamonds, but you know, they're sparkly enough that they can be entertaining for an hour and a half.
Well,
This looks like trash though.
oh yeah. Did you ever see Ice Spiders?
No.
Let me see if I can find a video for that. Let's see. Copy link.
Oh man, that looks awful.
Yeah, ice
It's like-
spiders. Yeah, hold on.
This is
Yeah,
like
there we
Babylon
go.
5 levels of CGI.
Yeah, it's like that. Wait, that would be not the right place to load that. Okay.
And like, if people want,
Listen
Okay.
to the names.
So
of
here's
the
here's
main-
ice spiders.
Yeah, listen to the names of the main characters: April, Chad, and Dash.
At any altitude. It's the ultimate hunter. Because spiders love the cold.
ice spiders like that.
Giant spiders have escaped. And these Olympic hopefuls are entangled in a deadly web.
They're killing everyone.
That's pretty great.
Oh my god.
Let's go out into the snow and fight the spiders. Fight the ice spiders.
Yeah,
with
it's pretty great.
sticks.
Ice
We'll fight them
spiders.
with sticks.
Yeah. They're not affected by the cold at all, Skep.
Yeah, exactly. Spiders get really active in the cold.
Yeah.
You know what was actually really great was Mega Python versus Gatoroid.
Yeah.
Mega Python was just like a giant like city-sized snake, and Gatoroid was like this cyborg giant gator thing, and it was just like it was like the old school like Godzilla movies where it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but you got to see giant monsters, air quotes, giant monsters beating the crap out of each other.
Frosted Glass
Godzilla
still better
versus
than Madam
Mothra
Web.
was a classic.
I mean, yeah.
Well, maybe Madam Web is bad because Dakota Johnson's grandmother is nuts and lives with tigers. I could be part of it. I don't know.
And there wasn't as much boob.
So, how about a new rocket?
Is this one going to be driven by rats?
No, this is actually, the penis rocket that Jeff Bezos has that just takes celebrities up into space and does basically nothing.
Yep.
This is the real one. It's the New Glenn rocket, and it's a little bigger than a Falcon 9. It has kind of a spacious payload, and it's really aiming more at launches that need a little more energy without having to go with like a Falcon
You need to
Heavy.
get up to like geostationary
Yeah.
orbits. kind of
So
stuff.
it hasn't flown yet, so it's still just basically vaporware. But
Wait.
we may.
You're saying rockets have specific uses?
They do. So the New
Yeah.
Glenn
Wow, and
rocket
Thunderfoot was lying to me the entire time.
is supposed to have a reusable first stage. So this
Nice.
is the competition for SpaceX. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to kick SpaceX's ass, but I think that the government will probably throw them enough work to keep them around just because they want to have an option.
Maybe.
This is one of
Lockheed
those
said
cases
that
where coming in
the
second-
SpaceX's Rockwell.
Yeah, second place is actually just fine in this contest.
Yep.
As far
Yeah, I
as
mean,
they're
I hope
concerned.
they do some good work.
Yeah.
I can't, if they're able to I can't wait to see them achieve something along the lines of as far as the amount of calculations and work and engineering that you have to put into catching a rocket. But I want to see them succeed.
Yeah, they're
Marshall,
not doing this.
Don't
Is
you think this is a growth industry?
well, it is. This is them landing on the barge. But to give you an idea of how it's different from the SpaceX offering of a similar size, it's bigger than a Falcon 9, not as big as a Falcon Heavy, but it's bigger than a Falcon 9, and it also has a higher performance second stage. So it's using a liquid hydrogen fueled second stage rather than a methane fueled second
Oh,
stage.
really?
So
And
they're
doesn't it-
going for we can take your thing and we can put it more easily into a higher orbit or an orbit that requires
we've
more
got
energy than the Falcon 9.
Yeah. This is more for
Because we've got
transporting.
scarier fuel, scarier higher energy fuel. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, this is for taking stuff from terra firma up.
Yes.
We're bringing stuff up.
So
Yes,
in the case of like a Falcon launch, when they've had to put things in really special orbits or space probes to get them moving, they sacrifice the whole vehicle Essentially, you pay extra for the fact that we're not going to be able to reuse any of it. In this case, they're looking at a lot of like spooky military launch type stuff where they could put something up and still recover the first stage. So they found a little niche in the market, in sort of in between the different SpaceX offerings where they might be able to make some money. And they're hoping that they can actually launch this thing pretty damn soon because it's already delayed and behind schedule. Everybody except for SpaceX is terribly behind schedule on everything.
Yep.
So, but competition, yeah, I want to see competition because I don't think it would be good for anybody if SpaceX didn't have competitors motivating them to keep working.
SpaceX will only stay excellent as long as it stays lean and hungry, and this will keep them lean and hungry. Believe me.
Yeah. And besides
Elon is paying attention to this.
That penis rocket, the New Shepard, is kind of an embarrassment. So,
yeah, that's,
do better, Blue Origin. Do better.
I don't know who was doing the thinking there.
Okay, anyway. Serenity is back.
Yep.
So I understand that you're smart enough not to choose bear, right?
In what context?
You're in the woods. Would you rather run into a man or a bear? Because bears are dicks.
I thought you were talking about aspirin.
I thought you were talking about paint.
No, I'm talking about.
I was like, what?
No,
I thought you were talking about. Be nice.
The best thing about bear paint is that you can get those samples, and for some projects, that sample is all you need.
Oh yeah.
You mean I can get a small version of this can of paint with a cap that I can just screw right back on? No, don't no.
But anyway.
Yeah, but
bear
anyway.
In the woods.
Yeah. So, well, here before we get to the bears, here's bison. So a bunch of wolves are attacking a small bison, and then here's what plays out.
Oh, is this the one where the friend sacrifices him?
Yeah, so this big bison comes along and goes, yeet.
Yep.
And then all the wolves eat the small bison.
I love stroke of luck for the wolves. It's like, no, that was calculated. You
it's like, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. Well, I could trip you, and then I don't even have to outrun you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me it's not tough being a bison.
Nature sucks.
Nature does suck. Where's PETA? Where's PETA about this?
Well, the thing that makes it funny too is that judging from the size, that means that it was either an adolescent, which they had never gotten to grow to full size, or B, that's a female.
It could also be a rival male.
I don't think
it could be who hasn't gotten to full size yet, because that's a size differential.
Guy who's up and coming and looking a little too frisky.
I don't think you got to see Baby's First Bacon because you were
I've seen
away.
This.
Oh, you've seen Baby's First Bacon?
Yep.
Yeah, we've already seen it.
I'm on social media, dude. Of course I've seen this.
Hell yeah.
Oh, there's a really funny one, too, of Baby's First Pho, where they gave him the pho broth.
Nice.
And the baby was just like, oh, sweet Jesus, I've seen light for the first time. And it was just the funniest thing. It's like, there's taste.
Yeah, my feed was full of bears being assholes, so I ended up seeing this one. Let's release this bear.
One. I've seen this one. Boom. Yeah.
It's like, really?
Fuck you up.
Really? You choose bear? I mean, do people realize that bears are not... Have they just seen too much stuff on social media with, like, drunk Russian guys hanging out with bears and they think bears are cool? Because they're not.
Well, the problem is that there's city kids who don't... City and city tangentially... like suburban kids who've never actually interacted with a bear. When they look up stats, and this is the thing with stats is the art of lying. They like, well, only 6 people a year die from bears that we know of, you stupid bitch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who go missing on hikes who are either dying to pumas or bears.
Yeah.
It's just they don't know because they haven't found the body, and they're not going to just say it's the bear.
There's another bear.
Yep. That's Russia. I don't blame him. Fuck the Russians.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're going to let you loose, bear. It's like, no, I'm going to kill you. I kill you.
But it is the reason why for the longest time with both black bears and grizzly bears here in the United States, they have the remote release cages. This way they get the F away.
Because they can close the gap like that.
You could not pay me enough to be the guy letting that bear out of that cage.
You think you have an exciting job.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
But I think with the bison thing, I'd like to know where the rest of the herd was, because I've seen the opposite where a herd of bison fucked up some wolves.
Oh, little woodchuck. Hello, little woodchuck. Well, the thing is that considering it was wintertime, they were probably separated from the herd because they probably got stuck at a water crossing.
Well, that was something like that. Yeah, where my mind was going was like, oh, this little this little idiot decided to go off on and do whatever because he's a
Yeah.
little idiot, and then Daddy Bison came over and said, "You know what? Fuck you."
Yeah, we still have young ones around. Your meat. Goodbye.
Well, it's also going to allow him to get back to the herd and warn
yeah.
the herd and get the herd away.
Yeah, it's the reason why I with Skep's statement that it's a juvenile male who's going to come into his prime in the next year or so. I think Skep's right on that one. Just because they wouldn't do that. They would have less likelihood of doing that to a viable female than they would to another male that may become a rival.
A female.
Yeah, that's when they go ham. The females are terrifying when they protect calves. The females are terrifying. They're more scary than the bulls are when they protect calves.
Yeah.
But the males will protect the females. The males don't care if the calves die because it just means she's going to go into season faster. Some of the males will kill the calves.
The females will die to protect the little ones.
Oh, my cousin who lives out west sent me a video of one of the Mustangs. This is the thing that always drives me nuts about the animal savior programs.
Horse herds. Oh my God.
A female who was not very old gave birth to a foal whose back legs just didn't work.
Yeah.
And she was staying with, and the females of the herd were staying with her and the baby, and it couldn't stand up to feed or anything. And he said it was like 6 hours later, the stallion of the herd just walked over, grabbed it by the back of its neck, and did what it's going to do.
Yeah.
And they all ended,
broke its neck.
Yeah. And it's one of those things people, it's very funny listening to people like PETA people or vegans. They're like, nature's so no, it's not.
No,
You've never actually had to deal with nature. Shut the fuck up.
That's a very aggressive zero defects program you have there, Mr. Stallion.
Yeah.
But it's like, to get back to the bear thing too. It's like, it's when people say, well, the stats. Okay, there's people who go missing in the woods all the time that we don't know how they died because we haven't found a body, so we can't declare them dead. We don't actually know how many bears have killed people. We know the ones that we can prove. It's like shark attacks. I think shark attacks that are known are rare, but there are people who go missing in the ocean all the time that are probably either falling to shark attacks or something else. So the provable and the actual are two different things.
Remember Gentle Ben, Skep?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Gentle Ben.
Gentle Ben
absolutely.
and Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly Adams.
Yeah.
Another pro-bear propaganda that they tried to feed Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, grizzly bears, when they're raised in captivity, are actually are the calmer of the bears. Polar bears are not. Black bears are assholes. Black bears all around are assholes. But yeah,
Who was the guy who got eaten by the bear? Was his name Treadwell?
I think that's his name. But that was the one where the park ranger in the documentary literally said, when someone asked him for the reason why the bears let him stay near him for so long, he's like, well, they probably thought he was mentally with an R word.
Timothy Treadwell, the man who thought he could be friends with bears, not just the ones you'd think you'd bring to a teddy bear picnic, but the real grizzly kind.
Yep.
Yeah, Timothy Treadwell. He
Put
was
up
known
the
as the Grizzly Man. He spent 13 summers in close proximity to grizzly bears in Alaska's Katmai National Park until one ate him.
Yep. Certain kind of stupid.
On October 5th, my birthday, 2003, Treadwell and his girlfriend, Shemp,
she died
were
too.
attacked and killed by a grizzly bear. This was not your typical bear encounter where one says, oh, look at the pretty bear, and it ends with everyone going their separate ways. No, this bear decided Treadwell was more than just a friend. It saw him as a potential snack. And his camera was found with the lens cap on, but it was still recording audio during the attack. The 6-minute audio captured the grim reality of nature's indifference to human intentions. Stark reminder that in the wild, you're not the main character in a Disney movie. Sometimes you're just on the menu.
We have there's a story here which has been on the spreadsheet for about 2 weeks now, and I want to make fun of this woman because she's terrible.
Do it.
I want to do it when Serenity's here.
Do it.
So I had to go to an archive because
Of course you did.
Because this article is now at the point where it's behind a paywall. I was adopted into a white middle-class family, and I never felt like I belonged. It impacted how I show up at work.
Poor baby.
So this was She was 7 years old, living in Madagascar, and she was adopted by a middle-class French family.
Of course.
And somehow she's the victim. I mean, come on, Skep. This woman is lucky. Lucky beyond
God.
all measure
To be plucked from hell.
to be plucked from hell.
Jesus Christ.
But apparently she's the victim. It's like,
Yeah, that's a peculiarly French attitude, unfortunately. Poor, pitiful me. But monsieur, I'm so sorry. There's always an excuse. There's always somebody to blame. There's always some malady. The French are they're the excuse people, as far as I'm concerned. They and it doesn't surprise me being brought up probably in that culture with some of those cultural values. She may not be a strong person herself, and so she's looking for a way to rationalize her intellectual or mental weakness, and the concomitant failures in her life, of which I'm sure her life is a series of tried this, didn't work, tried this, didn't work, or maybe didn't try very much at all.
she's trying to spin privilege into oppression. Like,
Yes, exactly.
and
This is
why?
making me crazy. It's making me crazy. People, God, she should be thanking her lucky stars for these wonderful people who saved her from
Yeah.
Madagascar.
Okay. The
Don't
one
make me
thing,
laugh.
the one thing to be fair though, it's France. They are the racist they think America is, that people think America is nothing compared to how bad France is. Especially if she grew up rural. I'm not saying this excuses her stance, but considering what she may have been exposed to,
It depends where in France. There's different parts of France. You're talking about the part that's down by Spain, and that's like the old South in the United States.
oh, French Catholic missionary, oh fun.
Well, when she was in
South
yeah,
of France.
Yeah.
Well, southern part of France.
I didn't speak French, was black, and was in shock from my mother's death.
Oh,
Yeah, I
she
mean,
was
these
in
are all
Mar-
terrible, terrible things. But the
Yeah.
point
Well,
is,
but she was in Marseille. Marseille is basically Italy.
Yeah.
So-
They
Oh wait,
don't-
no, Marseille. No, Marseille's not. Marseille's a suburb of Paris.
yeah,
so
she was
she's-
fed,
so
she went to school, had her
she's just
clothing,
outside Paris.
completed her A levels, became, a relatively successful person.
Yeah.
And yeah, in a perfect world, you would have never had to leave Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
In a perfect world, Madagascar wouldn't have been a shithole. And you
Yeah.
would not have had to leave, and everything would have been different. But
And you would have been
That's not
digging
the way that-
rutabagas into your 70s.
that is not the way
Enjoy.
the world works. Okay, I have a friend
Agreed.
who actually I've worked with. He's a really good guy. Turned out he was into motorcycling. One of the few people I have ever actually gotten on motorcycles with and gone somewhere with. He's that level of friend. Okay, like a guy that I choose to hang out with given the opportunity because he's a good dude. He was in Lebanon. And Lebanon, not exactly a walk in the park. Bad things happened. His family had to relocate he basically had to go live with relatives in Paris. And he's described the whole thing about being like a refugee, essentially moving to Paris. And, he put his whole life together and everything was sort of fine. And I think about him and compare him to her. And I'm just like, yeah, I get that it's not what you may have wanted with the time machine, but you seem pretty ungrateful and maybe you should reorient your mindset. You should.
No.
Agreed. It's just irritating to have these people who are really privileged and lucky want to get sympathy from us because reasons.
Which
Well, they're
I
sick.
get. It also, Marseille's not a suburb of Paris, Skep. They're nowhere near each other.
Yeah, she lives in England now.
What
She's
am
a
I thinking?
podcaster
I'm thinking
and a
of
life coach.
Versailles. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
you're thinking of Versailles.
Marseille is in the south of France. It's up down on the coast, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
by
Yes,
Nice.
it's between Montpellier and Toulon,
Yeah, you poor thing.
near Monaco. But well, the thing is,
which
like,
which is what I was saying. It's basically Italy. Monaco is the
essentially.
border of France and
I
Italy.
just want the whinging to stop. I mean,
I
that's
agree.
all I'm saying. Because it's not like, I mean, you guys know about my background. I've had shitty things happen to me, but do you hear me trying to get sympathy from people all the time? Because my life hasn't always been a bed of roses. No.
No, and I agree. It's just south of France in the 80s, after your mothers died, is not an easy thing for someone who is such a drastically different skin color.
No. But she's
And it's
clearly
not-
thrived
I'm-
and succeeded.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. But there's also the internalized hatred that is going to occur from people treating you like shit your entire life for something you had no control over.
All this
And there's-
identity stuff is just bad for people. It really is.
Oh no, and that's the problem, is that both sides rely too much on identity, and then they make each other suffer for it.
Yeah.
And then it just creates a vicious cycle of just never ending, and that's the problem. It doesn't excuse either one. It doesn't excuse her from acting the way she does, but it also doesn't excuse how she was probably treated either.
Okay.
It's just, it sucks all the way around. Identity shit needs to end, but human beings have always been that way.
Yeah, people are terrible. Oh, well, speaking of terrible people, look, I found a segue.
There you go.
One final thing. Explicit deep fake scandal shuts down Pennsylvania school. Well, basically, one or a group of people decided, hey, why should we do a deep fake of like one person in our school and cause them to be miserable? Why don't we do deep fakes of 50 people in our class?
50 females.
50 females. Yeah. Oh,
None of them were boys.
nobody wants to see the boys in deep fakes, so they decided to misuse AI
That's
and
disgusting.
and just create this terrible situation. Just talk about how not to use technology. And then they spread these pictures around the whole school. They had to shut down the whole school because these people are just idiots with tools. I'm not really sure what the answer is to this sort of thing, other than just to shame and punish these kids. There's no way to make somebody whole after all this, right?
No, there's not.
No.
Yeah. How do
I
you
think-
how
I
do you
think-
fix this? You don't.
Can you euthanize the children?
That's what I want to know.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you can, but should you?
And AI makes
Oh,
this
sure,
stuff
of course
easy.
you should.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think
you
at a-
want to nip that stuff in the bud. Nip
At a
it.
very base level, having the notion that your likeness, like your actual physical likeness, your data, all this is your property, full stop, would help pave the way for modern laws to say that, yes, if you deepfake someone for the purposes of libel, slander, sexual gratification, exploitation, blah, 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 make it actionable so that people won't do it. And then you would turn into you would have the same public deterrent, fear of criminal punishment, social ostracization, and stuff like that. It's the same reason why boys cannot run into the girls' change room with a camera, take a picture, and get away scot-free. It's because they created laws that said, no, that's a criminal act. And so if they did the same thing, but again, the problem is that the judicial system in the West is so bloated and so compounded with shit that overlaps shit that should have gone the way of the dodo 100 years ago, still exists, and it is hard to float through this stuff. Now, what should happen here with this? That yes, it should be taken very seriously. It should be you do a full investigation, find out who created it and who distributed it, and treat those as separate categories, because the person who created it should be held to a higher responsibility, I think, than the collaborators who willingly or intentionally or otherwise distributed this stuff, because that's, again, in my personal philosophy, that's you're stealing something. Even though it's AI generated, you're stealing something from these individuals and using it to disparage and cause them real world harm.
Well, it's not.
Honest-
It's not
well-
harm. Like it's not
It is
like
harm.
physical. No, but it's not like
Well,
physical harm.
well,
We
it's
we've
physical harm.
the whole harm thing has become really fuzzy the way people use it. But what do you want to say, Serenity?
Well, the thing that makes this terrible is the fact this was happened back in 2023, and none of the cops were tipped off until mid 2024. It says it right there. Head of school Michael Shemp seemingly first learned of the problem in November 2023 when a student anonymously reported the explicit deepfakes through the school portal run by the state attorney's general office called Safe to Say Something. But Shemp allegedly did nothing, allowing more students to be targeted for months until police were tipped off in mid 2024. And the cops arrested the students accused of creating the harmful content in August.
Yeah, maybe if I pretend it didn't happen, it'll just go away when these kids graduate. No,
I mean, the other thing is that the more disgusting take is he was partaking.
I mean,
That's the terrifying thing. I'm hoping that's not the case, but considering there's a lot of teachers who like to look at a lot of things they shouldn't.
at least it's not the UK. God, Rotherham and all of other stuff. The
But, yeah.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of tools at our disposal to deal with this problem, right? Any of the people that were portrayed that were under the age of 18, you could get them on a CP charge, right? You know, even if it's a computer generated thing, if somebody under the age of 18, there's possibilities of going at them from that vector. My fear is that this might be one of those technology things where the genie's already out of the bottle, and realistically speaking, there may not be a lot we can do about it. And we just need to go, this is one of the bad things that happens. I'm not saying you should spread these things around in the school, and Functional's right. You know, libel, slander, CP charges, there's all sorts of vectors we could go at to go after these people. But we may be in a situation where we just have to grudgingly accept that technology is out of control and there might not be much we can do. Like, for instance, if this person did it for his private whatever and they didn't spread them around and share them with people, they'd have no way of knowing. So we're all going through life knowing that there might be an ex or somebody who hates us who's just making these things, and that out there somewhere there's somebody doing something inappropriate looking at a manipulated picture of any of us, which is kind of a black pill way of looking at it. I'm not sure this problem can be fixed, but we should totally throw the book at this idiot.
But I think that they can be fixed, and I think you're just being a bit of a doomer about it. I know that you're very well learned about these types of things, but like I alluded to, with things like the prevalence of home photography to the advancement of digital photography, laws were updated to include those things. And like I said, you don't have boys running into the girls' changing room with their phones out. And if they do, because, you know, shit happens, people are fucked in the head sometimes. When that does happen, they do get the book thrown at them.
Well,
and
nobody
I'm
should
glad
be
to hear
taking...
that the guy who created this and the head of the school is going to face some serious justice for this, because that's unacceptable. Like you said, we're talking about a school, so even if they aren't technically, you know, minors, even if they just hit 18, it's still disgusting. It's still, you're taking advantage of young people who, you know, need to be protected. Again, my entire philosophy is people of this grouping are the only group that really need special protections because they're children. They're not fully whole yet. They're not self-realized. Like, I assure you that there were a few of these girls that were like, you know, maybe like a little disappointed, but they were like, oh well, that's not me, you know, and moved on with their, but not thinking, no, they actually violated your personhood and your, you know, self-worth and self-being. Like, you shouldn't feel like, maybe you shouldn't, you know, go to the one extreme or the other, but you should feel something that this is wrong and that it should be both within the scope of the law and the scope of society frowned upon, putting it mildly.
Well, broadly speaking, you really shouldn't have women taking cameras into rooms either,
Well,
because yeah, there are
Broadly
definitely men who do bad things, right? But there are plenty of women who do shitty things to other women, like just to humiliate them. Say,
You're
hey,
right,
take a look at
Harry. I'm a
somebody's.
misogynist. Women
No,
can't
but
do
I'm just
anything.
saying that it's not just about keeping men out.
I
It's
know,
just
I know, I
cameras
know.
in general.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's like-
I spoke poorly. Yeah. Anybody. I mean, those spaces themselves. You know, it's big in the news lately. Those spaces themselves, whether it be the gym, the locker room, the classroom, whatever. Like, I don't think that you should be able to. Like, I think it should be, again, both illegal and societally frowned upon that you record in these air quotes safe spaces where
Yeah.
people and children are at their most vulnerable.
Right. So you can go after people for publishing stuff, but for instance, if somebody got out their phone just to say, "Oh, I'm just checking to see if my DoorDash delivery is going to be there at a certain time," right? If they've modified their phone so it doesn't make a noise and they take a picture, there's no stopping them from taking a picture unless you literally just say you can't even have your phone out. But I'm getting off on a side note.
You can just pull Japan. They have to have the clicker sound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Or, well, a lot of times in business situations, there are places where you'll have to either leave your phone or they'll put a sticker over the camera.
believe me, yeah.
Just, and then if it's been tampered with, then
USAA data center in San Antonio.
Yep.
Well,
Is there some sort of like Faraday cage type thing where we could install around bathrooms and locker rooms that just scramble all electronic signals so that you can't even take a
You can
photograph?
prevent communication to the outside
Yeah, I
world
know, I'm
with
being kind of
a
facetious.
true Faraday cage.
Well, you also have to remember with the AI generated nude stuff, the girls didn't have to be in the locker room.
yeah, and it doesn't have to be just nudes.
No, I know.
There's a lot of ways you could manipulate
Oh,
an
yeah.
image with AI to where that's not covered by parody. Where suppose you just wanted to discredit somebody, you could make AI images that make them look tired, make them
yeah.
look weak, make them look a lot of ways. You could show scenarios where they're engaged in criminal activity. You could just, the mind boggles at the different ways you could use AI in addition to just the sexual stuff. And the only place where you can really stop it is at the point of publication. Right, because
Yes.
there's no way you can stop private use if somebody isn't stupid enough to share it.
no.
There's no way to stop them. Sorry.
I mean, I really want this legal definition of your personhood, your data, because I think that would encroach onto things like satire and parody, where we're dealing with several different categories here. So the minors thing aside, we agree anything and everything, I think we can all agree, is a no go without consent. And I'm not talking sexual. I'm just talking parody, satire, using a child's likeness, like an actual child's likeness, to manipulate an AI without consent. No, just hard no. However, consent with just adults. Like if I created a parody of Serenity and had it, whatever, I think that there should be that precedence that says, well, no, I can't do that without her expressed consent, because that belongs to her likeness, her, it's nothing, lewd or lascivious or anything like that. Like you said, she's looking tired, or she's, I made a joke like she's in an SS uniform, goose stepping, just a joke between friends. Like, sure, that's all good, like if she did the same to me, that's all fun and good. Like, nobody cares. However, if I turn that around and like start publishing people, and then in addition, there's libel being printed beside it saying, look at what this Serenity Star person believes, and look at who she's supporting, and then there could be the legal actions of, well, no, you're actually encroaching, but you're fully into the territory of libel and slander in saying this person's a Nazi and blah, 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 blah. Now, that's one category. The other category entirely could be the sexual aspect of it, and anything and everything that's lewd and lascivious, that's again non-consensual, is just illegal. If you're just like CP, if you're even found to have it on your hard drive or in possession of it, you are now criminally liable I believe most places have sort of updated that if you don't report it within an hour or two or whatever, then you're fully criminally liable for possession of that contraband. They did have to change that because people were using that as a means to entrap people. So, hey, I want to get at Skep, so I'm going to send him a bunch of this content and then basically swat him. And then they find this stuff on his hard drive and they're like, oh, well, you're going to jail. They allowed for that sort of like, oh, somebody put something on my computer. Quick, call the police. Hey, somebody just somehow got something on my computer, and then they blah, 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 blah. Don't want to get too far into those weeds, but like when you get into that sort of sphere of things, I think that that's something that should be completely separate from, like I said, satire to slander sort of scope of things.
I have to stop before I start talking about A-time flags and iNotes. Okay, so
I know.
I was just. Oh no! For efficiency, I made it so it doesn't register when I actually access a file. No, I can't prove that I didn't look at it. Okay, so just to show you what the challenge
on
is.
the overhead.
I wasn't planning on covering this tonight, but OpenAI accidentally deletes ChatGPT training data amid publisher copyright claims. Okay, so you're looking for a legal remedy involving AI, and you go through the whole process of trying to subpoena evidence. And all that happens is, oh no, we lost it. And then it's like, oh, well, I guess we can't proceed with the case. Just like with Hillary Clinton. Oh no, did I bleach bit those computers that had the data that was subpoenaed on them? Oh no. And then nothing, if you're big enough and you're important enough, nothing ever happens. Until the law actually grows a spine and goes after some of these bigger actors, these people who are connected. There's nothing we can actually do because all the things that you mentioned, functional, are predicated on the law actually working.
Yeah.
And if the law doesn't work because we let people get away with this kind of shit, it's like if you subpoena data and it looks like, as in the case of Hillary Clinton, that they willfully destroyed data that was subpoenaed, there needs to be like real consequences, but there never are.
There needs to be some sort of backup or firewall.
Yeah.
In the legal sense that says, okay, well, if you willingly and knowingly, and we prove that you willingly and knowingly destroyed the data that was subpoenaed, then you are basically tacitly admitting to every accusation that data would have either incriminated or exonerated you for. You're now fully on the hook. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Again, that would open another case of, okay, well, now we have to prove that they did delete the data, which, smart ways to get around everything. But again, it's just the notion that the laws that we have on the books, even though might be in principle, Harry, applicable in the course of jurisprudence, cannot be applicable. I think we just need to update the laws so that they can be directly applicable to things like digital media and heuristic algorithms to actual AIs and all these other things. I think if we can do that, then we can at least make some ground. But right now we're not even stagnating. We're sinking in the mud as far as these laws go because, like I alluded to before, there's a whole bunch of other old archaic laws that aren't relevant to today's world at all, or in certain societies or communities that just aren't relevant, that are still hangers on, but they have effect on other laws that could be updated. Anyway,
let's get rid of 5 of those a day. That's what I'm saying. Go the Malay way, 5 a day. We are 27 minutes over. So at some point we have to let Skep go get his beauty sleep. And so I don't want to wear out my welcome with my friends here. So I'm going to go ahead and, if there's nothing else, say goodnight to everybody. Is there anything else?
Also going to say goodnight, but I just want to let people know Scribe is back on the air. He got his power back. And rest in peace to Dating Game.
He tweeted out that he did not have the vocabulary to describe his frustration. I tweeted back that I somehow doubted his statement about his vocabulary.
Yeah, he has a pretty strong vocabulary.
Chuck Woolery passed away this evening.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So that's another one of our cultural icons that has gone beyond the veil. And Good night, folks.
Well, he
So
did a
be-
bunch of stuff.
Keep
He
waitress.
was the dating game in addition to. Okay.
Other stuff, yeah, but I just forgot his name briefly.
Oh, what was the newlywed one? Was that also Chuck Woolery?
I want to say yes.
There was the newlywed game. I mean, some of the
all way before my
outtakes from
time.
that
Bob
are
Eubanks.
amazing.
Oh, it was Eubanks.
Oh God, some of the things that the dumber people said on the newlywed game were amazing.
Harry, say goodnight.
All right. I'm very distractible. All right. Anyway, this has been your Mini Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Sleepy good night from Texas.
Bye.